Ms. Pyle, a motion, changes, please?
So moved.
Can we get a second?
I'll second.
We get the staff report. I think we...
Are we doing all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think it's passed. I think we don't have an officer here, but we have a police report. I don't think we have an officer, so I think we...
No, sir. We do not have representatives for either the police or the code department.
We do have reports from it. Any discussion about the reports? Any member? Any discussion?
Yes, on the code enforcement, we have Main Street in South Atlantic, and I guess I'd like to know how many properties are in each. So if we have a total of 100 violations, and there's 1,000 properties versus percentage-wise. So at some point, if we get the number of properties in those two CRAs, it'd be helpful to me.
All right. We'll get a number as best we can.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's pretty tough, but
No, it should be pretty easy to get the number of parcels.
okay.
Okay. Any other member? Anything else? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Next, we pass, well, we don't have a code enforcement, so now we pass to the rezoning. Plan and redevelopment, Mr. Brewer, is that it?
Yes, sir. Yes. What we have, I'll just read through this, is into the record is we have a rezoning of planned development, redevelopment PD, RD, Victory Tattoo, DEV 2017-055, request by Rachel I. Pringle, Esquire Cobb Cole, on behalf of Robert Ellis, Victory Tattoo, to rezone 1,152.77 square feet of land located at 514 Main Street from the Beachside, redevelopment specialty retail, RDB2, to planned development, redevelopment, PD, RD, to allow a tattoo establishment. And I'm going to take you quickly through some of these slides that we could come back to if we need to. But these are maps showing the location that's near Oleander Avenue. And can you see that? Everyone see those slides?
It's out of focus.
It's out of focus.
Or I am.
There's a little bit of that one that is on that screen.
Okay.
On the right side. It's hard to see some of the information, but these are maps that are already in your packet.
Right.
And so we've provided the information on zoning, future land use. This is a picture that wasn't in your packet, but this gives you an idea of pre-Hurricane Matthew, July 2016, and what it looked like. The center building at that time occupied by Moffett Motors is the subject of tonight's request. And this is a close-up that was taken back on September 5th of the facade of that location, the first floor. And so I'll jump right into some quick background on this. We did have time when, till this early year, we had tattoo establishments were prohibited in all of our redevelopment areas. However, because of court case, Key West, the city, versus Bread, and I don't know how to pronounce this, Burley. That particular case in the 11th Circuit Court did establish a case law that found that tattoo parlors are involved in a form of artistic expression. You cannot unreasonably restrict them by zoning law that governs where they can be located. And because of that, the city initiated a text amendment to address that. And on April 19th, 2017, that new text amendment was approved by the City Commission, which allows the tattoo establishments to not only be in the M5 zoning district, which is a very limited area, and open it up to the business automotive zoning districts throughout the city. And that was with the intent of providing enough area for tattoo parlors to locate reasonably. The amendment also removed the prohibition of tattoo establishments in redevelopment areas and also North Overlay area and on Ridgewood, so that you could seek a rezoning, whether it was a straight-up rezoning to, say, the business automotive, or you're going to rezone to a planned development, which is what we have in front of us. The city's text amendment to add the zoning districts is intended to provide hopefully enough of an opportunity for everyone to have that chance to either rezone or to locate in the B3 district. And just as a matter of fact right now, the vacant Shell service station you're all familiar with on East ISB, that is our only property that's zoned BA automotive, where you could today go in by right and establish a tattoo parlor. And it was for sale, but we are, if it's confirmed and it is sold, that will be news for us. I can tell you that there's one other place that's located since the spring for a tattoo parlor, Nine's Parlor, down on Bevel Road. That is zoned BA, and that's just some background for you. The analysis we went through, we looked at all the plans. This is all detailed in the report, and so we continued to find some consistency about family tourism that is supported by the goals, objectives, and policies of the city for the proposed rezoning location, and so that's one finding that we did make, and then in addition to that, we want to cover the points that are in the PD. It's a fairly straightforward and simple provisions that are in the agreement with the applicant, and they provide all the uses are permitted already in the RDB2 except for a tattoo establishment. The other things I want to point out, there are some requests for waivers. You have a couple of them that are already detailed in the applicant's report. They provided a letter on the benefits and modifications that would be necessary in the LDC. The one I point out to you is the one in the middle that we've discussed with the applicant, and they're aware that there are some design guidelines, and we should really cover that in terms of another waiver that'll be in there going forward. So we're including this if you look at the sign itself that's on the top over the doors, that particular sign is proposed to be a wood sign and be painted, similar to the color and the kind of the look that you see with the window signage that's been proposed. So staff doesn't have any issues with the design standards of the provisions that are in the plan development. It's our recommendation that should all of these modification requests be approved, including the one I just described for you about the sign, that generally the staff is finding that it doesn't appear that we're entirely consistent in the plans that we have in redevelopment, in particular the E-Zone Master Plan. But ultimately it's the City Commission's decision. And I can tell you that as I wrote this report, everyone has to keep in mind that this is my professional opinion in writing this. And in this case, I want to make it clear that this does not reflect what is the position of the city. The position of the city administration is actually supporting the tattoo establishment at this location. There is some conflict here, and I want to just bring that out. That it's very clear that while I'm pointing out some of the issues that are in the plans, that by making the statement that we're not consistent, some of the comments that I have in there reflect what is my opinion, professional opinion, and not necessarily, in this case, the viewpoint of the city administration going forward. Okay?
Okay. So if I understand, if we do understand, that was a personal opinion?
I call it.
Professional opinion.
It's a professional opinion.
Professional
As
Not a
a
staff, not a city.
certified urban planner. That's my.
Now I guess we can go to applicant presentation.
Have we gone out and could we outline what this is, a quasi judicial
Yes,
process?
yes, process. So,
Yes, sir.
Let me go through this and then I'll. It's a brief presentation by staff. It's an applicant presentation, then the affected party presentation, public comment, and then we got the response comment presentation by applicant, affected parties, and city staff. Then we have the board discussion. Then the board can discuss about it. Okay?
And Mr. Chair, those are a summary of the procedures in a very broad form.
Yes.
And because of due process issues, I may be stepping in at certain points in the hearing to help you out and give you guidance
Absolutely.
as to who might have the right to speak, in addition to what you presented here. And I know all of the board members have been briefed on quasi-judicial hearing procedures and the board's obligation to make your decision based on the evidence presented. So if you have some information that you would be using to make the decision, feel free to, as a board member, to speak that into the microphone. If you're recognized by the chair, if one of the members has a question for somebody making a presentation, and you think that question might elicit relevant information, you should do that for all the board members.
Can I ask one question for clarification? On page 9, where it discusses rezoning, it says on item number 7 for uses, it lists all of the uses for an RDB2 zoning district, and it states tattoo establishment, and then the next line says that it is not permitted in the zoning district.
My bad.
Typo.
That's an oversight on my part that it's in there.
So currently, it is not on that list, but all of those other
That's correct.
establishments are allowed, not the tattoo, but
Right.
everything else is.
Yes,
Thank you.
that is a cut and paste here on my part.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can we go to the applicant, please? Applicant presentation, please.
Good evening, board members. My name is Rachel Pringle. I'm at 149 South Ridgewood Avenue. What we have for you today, as Reed outlined, is an application to rezone a building in the RDB2 zoning district to a planned district redevelopment zoning district. We intend to open a tattoo establishment, which, again, as Reed has said, was determined not to be prohibited in redevelopment areas in April of this year. We would also like to open a museum in the building that highlights the art contribution of tattooing and its specific contribution to Daytona Beach and in helping to contribute to its world reputation as the world's most famous beach. Victory Tattoo is an establishment currently operating in Ormond Beach, and I have the owners Robert Elvis and Jennifer Fino here who would like to talk a little bit about who they are and what their business is.
Hello, board.
Can you state your name and the address, please?
Okay. My name is Robert Ellis. Let me pull this up a
We
little
can
bit.
probably hear it.
Taller
We can
here.
probably hear you.
And my address is 216 First Avenue, Daytona Beach, Florida. Well, we moved down to Ormond Beach and opened up Victory Tattoo in 2009. And honestly, I never dreamed that we would do so well selling our art to all the people in the area and mesh so much with the community. But over the past 8 years that we've been there, we've seen that community grow from what it was when we first moved there. Little businesses popped up all around us. Every time there's a fundraiser, we put something in with the community. Basically, we're just a family business looking to sell our art in the area. About 3 years ago, I bought a historic house here in Daytona Beach on First Avenue and started redoing it. And I've been doing that ever since, and I'm trying to open up on Main Street, and I really look forward to being a part of this community and contributing to what Main Street can offer by having more year-round business.
Where is that? Where exactly in Ormond are you located?
We're on A1A. You know where Lenny's Pizza or the Publix is up there?
It's Ormond by the Sea.
Ormond by the Sea.
Ormond by the Sea, right?
Yep, we're in Ormond by the Sea.
It's Ormond by the okay.
Yeah, we're maybe 5 miles north of Granada.
When you said Publix, I know exactly.
Yeah,
where it is.
right up there. I don't really have much else to say. I'm not very good at public speaking. Do you guys have any questions?
Oh, yeah?
Yes, I do. The process to open up your place in Ormond Beach, how long did that take?
A couple weeks.
Okay. And I noticed that you started this process back in June.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been months.
And you don't have to give me numbers, but what's the cost ratio? 20%, 80%, 20%, roughly.
Man, roughly, I mean, we're talking 20 times.
Okay,
Yeah. Roughly.
that's good.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
far.
Can I? So my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is your intent is actually to buy the building? not
Yes,
rent?
that is my intent.
So your intent is actually to invest in Main Street?
Absolutely. Yeah, my house is
permanent
right across the
long-term
bridge. I
home.
would love to.
Thank you.
Hi.
Am I on? I know you know some of the other merchants on Main Street, and you've met with them. Have you run into anyone on Main Street that felt that your establishment would in any way detract from what Main Street is all about?
No. Thus far, we've had overwhelming support from every business owner. They would just like for us to open.
Thank you.
They see it as a benefit to them, that it would bring more people to their area, and they wouldn't be serving to such a small niche.
James?
What, if any, associated improvements to the building do you plan? Or is this simply a change of usage?
Well, we plan to redo the interior of the upstairs, but that's not much to the outside. As far as the outside goes, we would like to put up all our signage and make more art to go on the outside of the building. So I think visually it would be a very interesting addition to the street. That it would definitely, our business up in Ormond by the Sea, the whole outside has murals painted all the way around and signs on the front with pictures, and we have people that stop to take pictures with their motorcycles and their kids beside it all the time. So if anything else, I think it would be a good sightseeing thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. No, go ahead, please.
One more question, like during Bike Week and so forth, are you planning on just having your business there, or are you going to sublet it to some other kind of business?
I mean, we're planning to be there primarily, but of course, if any local businesses want to put anything in there, during the week, we'd be more than happy to put some of their things in display cases.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
My question is a little bit different.
Okay.
Have you done the research to find out why tattoos were sticking off and why?
I haven't been able to find any conclusive answers to that. I have spoken to some people who tattooed here back in the 70s. So far, that is the earliest people I can find that did tattoo here. They don't know why.
Is this Mr. Berger?
Yes, there is a reason why it was taken out. Not only the tattoos, but the body piercing too.
Right.
That was in the late 90s. There was a big, I wouldn't call it controversy, but there was a big controversy about tattoos and body piercing. And if you, I think if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Merrill was part of that whole controversy going on at that time. So I'm sure you can find out why. Either you're getting resistance about putting tattoos on the beach side, because the city has this concept of family, bringing in families,
Absolutely.
So I'm sure if you were looked inside and find out, you would have found out why there was so much controversy about tattoos, about body piercing, and about all what, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure I could.
Yeah.
I think at the same time, it's
Just like to point out that regardless of any past historic controversy there was with tattooing or piercing, it was the city's determination that it's an appropriate location in some of the redevelopment areas, or at least an argument can be made for it, it's not prohibited. So any of those past controversies no longer affect what we're doing here today, at least not in any immediate sense, maybe in some bigger societal idea of what is or isn't appropriate, but
Well,
I would like to state as a person who does tattoos and learned from someone who was older, who also learned from someone who was older that did them, that tattooing and what surrounds it in general has vastly changed in the past 20, 30 years. It is a much different practice.
I agree with you. Trust me, I agree with you 100%. But
I could see, I haven't seen what the reasons were, but I could imagine, you know?
But to come back to what you were saying, the past or the present, the situation that happened in the past, it got way out of hand because it started with one body piercing and one tattoo and ended up to be all over the place. I'm sure you're aware of that.
oh, absolutely.
Okay.
But as Reed mentioned,
No, I'm Mr.
thanks so much.
One thing that's constant is change.
I agree. Listen. I agree. I just want everybody to know.
As long as you're smiling,
I want everybody to understand why there is resistance against tattoos, and why is the city took that position many years ago. Now,
Completely understand that.
the same people are not in office anymore, but people have to understand why it came to that point. And like I said, Rob knows about it. He was involved in it. So I'm sure, that's why I said I want everybody to be aware of why it's on the books this way and why there's resistance. Okay. Absolutely. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions from
I do have one other question. I know part of your business is going to include a tattoo museum.
It is.
Can you tell us about what portion of your store, like when you walk in the store, what portion will be involved with the tattoo museum, what portion will be actively doing tattoos, and what kinds of things might be in your tattoo museum? Briefly, without...
Okay. Well, briefly, right now there's a subject when you come into the right. There's a wall there, and we intend for that to be the museum area. And it'll mainly be, photographs, articles, videos, as well as old artwork, to give historical context and show people how tattooing has evolved over the years and where it's been here locally as well. A lot of the Indians who are native to here also were covered in tattoos, so I think it would add an interesting historical element. And eventually I'd like to move it upstairs and have the whole museum up there, have a nice big area for it.
So essentially somebody could walk up and come in and check out your tattoo museum and not be involved with any of
absolutely.
the
The tattooing area is going
equipment
to be separated off from that. I mean, they would be able to see someone performing a tattoo, but they don't have to get involved with that at all. Anybody could come in and view the museum. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So I had one, and actually this goes back to the discussion just before. My question was going to be, what do you refer to yourself as? Because, people say tattoo parlors or, especially older people. I grew
Right.
up around Navy bases, so
Right.
I've got
Yeah.
the old ideas in my head. But having visited what you're presenting is very different than what we talked about from 30 or 40 years ago. Do you call yourself a parlor? Do you call yourself a studio?
All
is
of
there
the
a
above,
different
really?
way of how you see yourself now is how you present to the public?
Really all of the above. It could be a tattoo studio, tattoo parlor, and any of the above. Museum, yeah. All of it. None of it is wrong. A gallery, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
I just want to make a point. Listen, I want to tell you, I'm not against tattoos. Believe me, I have tenants that are in Miami that fought the city and were able to put it. But I just wanted you to know why it was the way it was and why it's now the way it is.
I've been wondering, so
Okay.
thank you. I haven't been able to find
You
out
got
thus
somebody
far.
there that knows very well.
Thank you.
Right there.
It's good to know.
All right.
Any
Any-
more questions?
Nope.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, board members. I would just like to, to put on the record, any discussions about consistency with the comprehensive plan or the E-zone master plan. I'd like to reference you back to our responses to city comments and the resolutions thereof, just for point of record. If you have any other questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, yes, I do. One of the questions is, it's kind of a legal question, so I'm not sure who to ask. This legal process we're going through, it's a document that has value and costs money. And right now it's the tenant that's applying for it, not the building owner. Now, I understand that the tenant is attempting to buy the building, but when we're done, who owns the asset? I mean, and what happens to the asset if bad news happens and Victory Tattoo moves on?
Yes, absolutely, please.
Our land development code requires, if a tenant is applying for rezoning, that the tenant obtain the property owner's approval.
So we do have authorization.
And I assume that happened here.
It did.
When you're engaged in a zoning inquiry, you base it on the use, not the user. So the idea of allowing a PD here would allow somebody who becomes a successor in interest to this business to operate it as well as the gentleman before you. And you should make the decision without regard to that. For that reason, it's based on the use, not the user.
Okay. Any questions from any board members?
Will we have a chance to discuss?
Afterwards, yeah, with the board, they're going to have,
Before
we're
we
going to
vote?
have
Have
board
any more
discussion.
questions for me?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, no, just, okay. Thank you. Thank you
you.
very much. Now, could we get the effect up?
She was introduced as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, please. I'm sorry. Please, go ahead. Hi.
Jennifer Fino Ellis. I live at 216 First Avenue in Daytona. There's a lot that I had written down, so many things that I wanted to cover, but ultimately, what I want to really emphasize is that we have a vision and a goal that we want to see for Main Street. And since the time we've moved here, we've seen Main Street kind of go on a steady decline. And I grew up in Atlanta and the Bywater District in New Orleans, and I've seen where areas like Main Street have been completely revitalized, mainly from the artists who come into the community, and they have a goal, they have a dream, they have a vision. And that's kind of what we want to bring. I know tattooing has had different connotations over the years, and in the past decade it's gotten a lot different. It's more modern, it's more mainstream. I think they say 1 in 2 millennials have a tattoo, most of them having 3 or more. And it's a different generation now. But even outside of just tattooing, art brings a sense of culture and uniqueness to a community that I kind of feel like Daytona has been lacking. You know, when you drive through even Flagler and you see all the color and the music and the sounds, when you go to New Orleans or you go to Atlanta, the art on the buildings, the uniqueness of the buildings, you know, it's not just airbrush t-shirt shops and novelty gifts. There's something that artists bring that is uniquely their own to an area that you can't replicate by having the same businesses. And we kind of want to bring that to Main Street, and I think that all the other businesses on Main Street are just as excited to have us there because they know that we're going to bring a different element, a year-round business. We're always going to be there. And when someone comes in to get tattooed, especially at our place in Ormond, we've had restaurants and bars and shopping centers that weren't there when we got there have sprung up because right now people, when they come to Daytona, they're looking to get tattooed. I mean, almost all of our clients in the summer months are tourists bringing their kids, their grandparents. Entire families show up. They all want to get tattooed and have a way to remember their visit. And if it's a good tattoo shop, they'll always remember that as a great memory. And right now they're making that trip all the way to Ormond, or Ormond by the Sea, And they're finding ways to get there. They're taking Ubers. They're trying to figure out how to take the bus system that doesn't run very often. I mean, they're making a pilgrimage, and they come back every year. All of our clients come back every year to get tattooed. And I think all the business owners on Main Street realize what a benefit it is. I mean, there is a tattoo shop, Hart and Huntington, on the City Walk in Universal Studios. And it's consistently busy. All the other businesses are consistently busy because they all work together to create an atmosphere that is unique and different and interesting and entertaining to everyone. And I think that Main Street should have something to offer everyone, artistically, visually, the way it smells, the way it sounds. I think there's so much potential on the street that right now I can't even get through my front door from the homeless people sleeping there because all of the businesses are vacant. No one's turning a key and opening a door every day and shooing these people away. They can just lay down and sleep where they want. Sometimes they do other things wherever they want. I mean, half the businesses are shuttered year-round. So, and I can see the boardwalk from my place of business, if it's going to be my place of business. And what's saddest to me is that you can see thousands of people enjoying the boardwalk, enjoying A1A, and not one of those people has a reason to walk down Main Street. Not one. All the business owners I know right now on Main Street, they're struggling. They need some kind of help to keep their doors open. The restaurants aren't able to get people to come down the street. I mean, and t-shirt shops and patch shops, they work maybe 1 week out of the year. So that's an old solution that used to work. And I know that tattooing sounds like bikers and t-shirts and patches, but we're not. We're artists. What we do is a little bit different than what's been there before. We mesh really well with the things that are there, but we're also a little bit more of a highbrow, high-end art institution, as we have been in Ormond, and that will work well with the other businesses around us. When people come to get tattooed, they come in groups. They are going to have to eat before they get tattooed. They're going to want to go and walk around while they're waiting for us to draw up their art and do their designs. When their family member is getting tattooed, they're going to want to get up and walk around and explore Main Street. And my hope is that when we open, we can bring those people there. And maybe just by us being there, other businesses will be inspired to move in and fill the empty spaces that are there now so that we can build something like downtown DeLand has built in the past couple of years, or any other main city thoroughfare that is bustling and full and has a life of its own, an identity, an experience to it. And I would like to start seeing that happen for Main Street again, where people walk off the boardwalk and have a reason to walk down Main Street, and they get to experience something out of it. So I guess that's my rant.
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
How many people do you think you can tattoo a day down there?
In
Ballpark, I mean, just
in our Ormond Beach location, as it is now with 4 artists, sometimes we get so busy we can't get to everyone in a day. We can do somewhere where each artist can do 5 to 6 tattoos a day and then have to reschedule. I mean, we started off with, when we moved here, we had $1,000, 2 kids, a dog, and a van, and we've been able to build our shop, build our house. I mean, we've really thrived in Daytona, and that's just from the people that have to drive to Ormond from Daytona. It is a really big industry.
so it's reasonable to say you're not, I'm going to say peak, but you're going to get 20 people a day?
Oh, easily. We get 20 people a day sometimes that just come in to look around. I mean, out of busy season, peak season, we probably have 30, 40 people who walk through the door, and we can't get to all of them. We do our best, but sometimes we have to reschedule them, and sometimes they're only on vacation for 3 or 4 days, and we can't always get to them. We've been that busy, so it really is a growing industry, and I think that the city would do well to capitalize on that, because there are so many people that are interested in art and tattooing. And it is a booming industry. I mean, it's worked out great for us. So, I mean, I think it does really, really well.
Okay, anybody else has any comment? No? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we're going to hear, I guess, by the affected parties. I guess there's nobody. Okay, so we'll go to public comment. First on deck, Rachel Pringle, please. There you go.
I'm the attorney, I already spoke.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Next on deck is Anne Ruby.
Hi, Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. One Tuesday night in late May, we were having dinner with my neighbor Casey and Sandy and Linda Smiley, and we were talking about our project to put art in the windows of Main Street. So we decided to walk down Main Street and see what kind of backdrops we would need to build. And I just want you to think a minute about what that means. We were thinking about how we were going to beg property owners to let us put art in their windows to make that street look better. Because for all the great plans, for all the master vision plans in the E-zone, nothing positive has happened on that street in a long time. There are some businesses that are operating there that have been there long term, and there are some that are now trying to really push themselves forward. But we were so happy to see Main Street that we walked in on their first neighborhood meeting, Victory Tattoo, because they were going to be open 24 hours a day, I'm going to get my mouth organized. They were going to be open year-round, and they were going to bring people in. And we desperately need that. For all the vision plans, we're not seeing any of that happen. And these guys are putting their money where their mouth is, and they're going to create a viable business. And as to family-oriented, tattooing is now a family-oriented thing. It wasn't when I grew up. But lots of families have tattooed parents, tattooed kids. It is a family activity at this point. It is not something fringy. It is not something that only sailors do. And the other piece, and this is my last point, I moved to Boston when Back Bay and Newberry Street were slums. They were in horrible condition. You had at one end of Newberry Street, you had the Ritz. The Ritz. And the other end, it just got trashier and trashier as you went down. And over the years, little mom and pop businesses opened. First an ice cream store, then a Thai restaurant, then a mom and pop luncheonette, like little businesses, a gargoyle store, and eventually nationally recognized luxury brands came in and said, look at this, a bustling street. So now we have Nike Town, we have Anthropology, lots and lots of nationally recognized chains are on that street. But it started from small businesses that created foot traffic, that brought excitement to the street. And that's what Victory Tattoo is going to do for Main Street. And that's why it's so important. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ben, I just got a 911. Can I just step out for a second, please?
Yeah, let's hold the meeting.
Please, 1 second. It's my wife. I just want to make sure that everything's okay.
We're on break.
Yeah, I think we need to hold up. But since it's a quasi-judicial hearing, if we want the chair to vote, he's got to be able to hear all of the evidence as well. We'll see what happens if this call drags on.
Sorry about that, Mr. Ben. Sorry. Next is Kevin Murphy. Whoa.
Hi, my name is Kevin Murphy, 136 Park Avenue. I'm here on behalf of myself and my wife Sandy, who couldn't be here. I'd like to say that I've been to both of Victory Tattoo's open houses. I have been in their store and museum. I thought that they did a beautiful job on the building. You are lucky to get someone like Victory Tattoo to locate in that area. I mean, if you think about Main Street now and how family-friendly it is, these are the most family-friendly people you've got there. said maybe Humphreys, but you've got, what, a couple of bars, one restaurant, My Barber, Humphreys Jewelry Store, and a laundromat. And that's about all you've got there. You know, we need something. You've got to start somewhere. I think they're very good people. I've met their family. You know, there's nothing that I can say that is negative about this. And Anna's right. I mean, tattooing has come a long way. My daughter, the Philadelphia lawyer, has 4.
We tattoo a lot of lawyers.
So I just wanted to say, and it's, you know, we are in favor. All right?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Rob Merrill on deck.
Command performance, thanks. Rob Merrill for the record. Interestingly, with Cobb Coal 149 South Ridgewood, I am here as a member of Cobb Coal representing the applicants, but at the same time, I'm not here to speak as an attorney. In the 30-something years of doing this, I've never spoken as a neighbor, and I am a neighbor of Victory Tattoo, and Dino, I think you could probably say the same thing, right, to some extent. I ride my bicycle by there constantly, walk in the area all the time, and they have a really cool establishment that's very exciting, and like you said, there's the art of it is outside of it even. But I can tell you this, as a fact witness here, and I don't know, Ben, if I can mix this stuff up or not, but I will. Things that have happened in North Peninsula, in that vicinity where I ride my bicycle, where I go to the hardware store that recently has become successful, same timing as this. The newest brewery in the area, same thing, same timing as this and after it. These things are happening with the tide rising together, and these guys are already there in Ormond by the Sea doing that. This is the perfect setup for you guys in Main Street to have them come here as it relates to my personal experience in my neighborhood. Never been able to say that at the microphone, and I want to say it, so thanks.
Thanks, Rob. On deck is David Kieser. David?
I'm Dave Kieser from, I own Hardcore Tattoo at Nova Road in Holly Hill, and I have another location at 20 South Atlantic. I opened up Hardcore 10 years ago, and then 7 years ago I came to the city of Daytona Beach, and I asked if I could open a tattoo shop in the area where all the tourists were, where all the business was, just so long as I didn't tattoo there. And the city told me yes. So I hired courtesy vans and courtesy van drivers and salespeople, and I opened up a tattoo shop at 38 South Atlantic, 20 South Atlantic, 614 Main Street, and their location, 514 Main Street. I did this, some on the Main Street ones I did for the events, and the spots on A1A I keep year-round. This location has successively been a tattoo business. The city didn't have any problems with what we did. I have done this again and again without any issues whatsoever. They have allowed me to, in essence, have a tattoo shop. I just can't tattoo. The tides are changing. It's a totally different atmosphere now. We tattoo nothing but families on vacation. People want something they can remember besides the T-shirt, something they can remember their trip from. Some kind of souvenir that they can always take, that they can always associate with their trip to the beach. And it's just a different atmosphere now, where it's just a totally different thing. I know that a lot of the prohibitions against tattooing were because of an older squad was, over the city back then. And a lot of things happened where they kind of let everything go unchecked for a second, and it almost blew up, and then it was, kind of put down. And by the city's new method of how they're allowing it or whatever, by requiring the rezoning process, requiring all these steps that we have to go through. I myself am entered in the rezoning process as well. It kind of keeps these out-of-town vendors from popping up. It keeps, the riffraff out. Like all the people that are trying to do this now, the Ellises and myself, we are family people. Everybody that works for me has children, has families. You know, it's a different atmosphere. We don't allow the riffraff, the criminals, the drug addicts. We just can't have it. You know, we make our living, we support our children, we support our families upon this, and we are just grateful that we're able to do artwork for a living, that we were able to express our art, to express you know, what we do and make a living of it. It's a great thing, and we're very grateful for it. This location, 514 Main Street, has been allowed to be a tattoo establishment for years, and I don't see why it shouldn't be now. That's all I have to say, and I'll be seeing y'all at my redevelopment meeting.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. I know you've been on the Main Street, but special event. You've been using this location, but you've been transporting them to the Nova location.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Because it's not legal to do it on the redevelopment area.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, David. Next on deck is Adrienne Fino. Am I saying it right? I hope I'm saying it right. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Adrienne Fino. Okay.
Hello. I'm Adrian Fino, 216 First Avenue, Daytona Beach, Florida. I've lived with my family in tattoo shops for forever. I grew up in Atlanta, New Orleans, and all those places they said. And the thing about growing up in a tattoo shop is it's seen as this kind of scary, menacing thing, you know? Like people, like I would go to school and be seen as the tattoo shop kid. And it's really not like that. I grew up in a tattoo shop and learned to draw and like learned family values. And the thing about tattoo shops nowadays is it's really a tight-knit like family thing. Like all of our employees go out to dinner with us. We all see each other on the weekends. And it's not this more controversial thing that it's been in the past, you know? And my parents are hardworking, great people. I've seen my dad work till 6 a.m. on Friday the 13th trying to get everyone out the door getting tattoos on people, you know? I've seen him work till 1 in the morning on a normal night just trying to get, you know, food on the table, man. And I don't know, I think it would just be great to get this shop open. And I'd love to see Daytona become a place like Atlanta, because that's where I grew up, and I'd love to see that happen here.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Next on deck is Rio Vendivia. Am I saying the last name right? Vendivia, exactly.
Do I have to say my address?
Yes.
I live at 420 Goodall Avenue in Daytona Beach, Florida. I actually work at Victory, and I've been there since about February, and they're the best people I've ever been around. And being at Main Street, we're going to bring exactly what that whole street needs. We're going to bring business. I've lived here for a while, and I've seen nothing happen there ever. It's dark, there's bars. We would bring light and family, and I tattoo minors, and it's okay. They come in with their parents, and it's a really fun experience for them. It's not scary. They're not getting bad tattoos. We would never allow anything like that. We're putting good work out there, like award-winning tattoos, so you should allow it.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on deck is Jennifer Fino.
I already went. Unless you want me to go again.
Robert Ellis.
I was already out there.
Okay. Rob, I got another one for you.
No, you don't need me.
No problem. Okay. All right. Now we're going to go to response and presentation by applicant, affected parties, and city staff. Is anybody has any comment before we go to the board comment? Anything else anybody wants to say? No? You got it? Okay. Let's go to board discussion now, please. James, you want to start, please? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I have just a couple of things
Sure, go ahead, please.
to say. I've met the Ellises at Nicole's. They've had some antiques and things there and vintage items. They're lovely people. I live not far from First Street, where they've restored a beautiful old house. If you know the one I'm talking about, with the copper roof, and it was gutted, I believe, when they got it. Someone was going to make a day spa out of it, completely gutted it, and then abandoned the project. So it was a lot of work fixing up that house, and it was really great to see it saved. And I would love to see them in there doing this tattoo, but I also want to give everybody the reminder that once this PD is on that building, it's permanent. So if the Ellises move out, anybody else can come in and put any tattoo parlor in there. So that's something to consider. Proceed with caution. I guess that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
James? Amy?
Yeah. So basically, from a legal perspective, we take the fact that these are wonderful, amazing people out of it just for a moment, and we'll look at what Main Street, what is really going to contribute to Main Street. The comprehensive plan, wanting to be family and tourist oriented. Right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, I looked at the RDB 2, the list. Right now, a pottery studio that teaches classes to children would not be allowed. A small grocery store would not be allowed. A laundromat is actually not allowed. A seafood market is not allowed. A household goods repair place where you could take your toaster or your microwave or put things in to have a craftsman in there working on that is not allowed. Secondhand retail is not allowed. Indoor recreation and entertainment, which, some sort of arcade or gaming, fun stuff inside would not be allowed. So I just want to throw that out there. The things that are not allowed may need a look-see in the future. Now, this is not a professional opinion because I'm not a professional. This is all a personal opinion, things that I'd like to point out. So for any of those people to come before us, I would want to say, if there were any of these businesses that come before this board, I would want to be able to say, I like that idea. And right now it requires thousands and thousands of dollars and a PD and, snaking through paperwork for any of those things to get approved. So one of the things I like to say is not necessarily the project, but the process is a problem in Daytona Beach. Second point, what is done right now to bring family and tourists to Main Street from Ocean Center? And if anybody hasn't, if any staff member, Reed, if you have anything that you know about that, because right now I believe, just as Jen stated, that she sees thousands of people down at the boardwalk that never walk up Main Street. I live right there. I live a block from there, for those of you who don't know. And I see people walk past and they look up Main Street and they go, ugh, and they keep going. And I think people at the Ocean Center, hundreds of thousands of people every year, is that right, Ann? I mean, that's not an exaggeration. They bring families, but they also bring adults, and none of them, there is no passageway to walk over to Main Street. There's nothing inviting to bring them over to Main Street. Even, nice restaurant like Lucky Rooster or a beautiful bar like Main Street Station, there's nothing to tell them, come on over here. They direct them from between the Ocean Center and the hotels across the street, back and forth, nothing to bring them over to Main Street. I want to see that change also. And I think with something...
It's a day at the beach. That usually means a good time, fun, and relaxation in the surf and on the sand. But that hasn't always been the mood on Daytona's beach. During the early days of World War II, a day at the beach meant a first-hand look at the war. In early 1942, the war came to the shores of Florida in the form of German U-boats prowling the Atlantic coast in search of Allied shipping. Between February and May of 1942, German submarines sank 24 ships along Florida's east coast. This brought World War II home to the residents of Daytona Beach.
The war was right at our front door, so to speak, because we lived along the coast. People in the inland, I don't think, had the same experiences that we did.
The Germans had supposedly a fine fleet of submarines which could make it all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. So we were under threat of possible submarine either observation or actual landing and attack of some sort.
The German submarines, the first part of the war, were sinking a lot of the merchant ships that were traveling up and down the coast and taking goods to England and Russia. And so there were quite a few ships that were torpedoed, and a lot of tankers were torpedoed, and there was debris that was washing ashore.
One of the things that brought the war to mind was with me. I was down on the beach at high tide one day, and there was a big old piece of wreckage that was coming in, and it was part of the superstructure of a tanker. And it was registered as some nameplates on it, and it showed that it was German. And then I think the paper might have taken pictures of it in my backyard. I brought it home with me. And
as a matter of fact, a city service oil tanker was sank by a U-boat just off of New Smyrna, or maybe off of Oak Hill, and the wreckage all washed up and down the beach from Coronado Beach all the way down to near Cape Canaveral. And they were all drums that had hydraulic fluid in the 55-gallon drums.
It was kind of scary sometimes about the beach because they would occasionally close the beach. Literally, you could not go on the beach. And that was when a ship had been sunk. And we deduced that there were things washing up that we didn't want to see or get into.
And we really did expect submarines off the beach. We expected invasion forces coming in on, what do they call those inflatable mattress things, that they would launch from the submarines and ship them in. And although I personally did not ever see them, I did see lights off the coast that people said, well, that was probably some foreign ship. There were reports of submarines and submariners being captured.
Because of the U-boat attacks on shipping and the fear of German landing, extraordinary measures were taken to protect the coastal cities.
Well, we saw it more because you eventually were restricted from going to the beach. And you had the blackouts, and you had the beach patrol, so we were restricted in our movements.
In order to get over to the beach side, because of all the problems that were taking place on the beach, we had to have a pass to go across the bridge. Even if we lived across the bridge, and not living on the peninsula side, was a problem, and the beach was guarded at night by men on horseback and dogs. So they went all around all night long, up and down the beach to make sure that no one came in. There was a rumor at one time someone came in up by the Ormond by the Sea area. Well, of course, that just got everybody started.
We had blackouts. You could not have lights showing on the beach side any night at all. We all had blackout curtains, and we had flashlights to get around, which were hooded so that we would not give any sign to those submarines that we were here and that they could target something in.
The blackouts would begin naturally about 6 or 7 o'clock at night, or when it became dark. And the person who was your air raid warden would come around and inspect your house to see if he could find any light. And if he did, you were reported to the authorities.
The people that were in charge of enforcing the blackout, of course, they had a monumental job to do because people didn't realize that the slightest light would make the glow that the Germans wanted, and so it was something that they had to continually run up and down the beach and make sure that everybody was complying with that. So it was a complete blackout.
Along the coast, it was a totally different situation because we were vulnerable to being shelled by offshore ships or being bombed by airplanes, and so the military established observation towers all along the coast of the United States, and they were located 5 to 10 miles apart, and they had volunteers in there 24 hours a day all during the war to look for enemy planes.
One of the things that I did during my senior year in high school was to man a watchtower down on the city island that every plane that flew over had to be reported via telephone to the MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa. They had to be identified, and of course that meant going to class to learn all the planes and all the enemy planes and all of our own planes.
I remember there was a lady here in town that had 3 sons that were in service, and they could get no one at nighttime from 11 to 7 to sit watch, and she would take her small children and go up there and sit in that tower all night long, every night, because her sons were in the service, and so that was her part. She believed that she had to do it, and it was, and thank God that there were people like that that would do things like that.
Today we can enjoy a day at the beach with nothing to worry about but a little too much sun. But we should remember the days when our beach was a war zone.
Welcome to this edition of Currents. I'm your host, the Reverend Dr. L. Ronald Durham, Community Relations Manager for the city of Daytona Beach, Florida. Well, if you're wondering where we're standing today with this wooded area behind us, we're actually standing on the site where First Step Shelter is going to be built. I can't tell you how excited we are as the city of Daytona Beach and those of us who've been working on this project for a long time. Today I'm here with the mayor of Daytona Beach, Florida, Mayor Derek L. Henry, and the Chief of Police, Chief Capri. And both of these individuals are going to give you some very interesting information about what's going to be happening here at First Step Shelter. Mayor, welcome to the program. Chief, good to have you on today. So, Mayor, let's talk a little bit about this property and what's going to happen here. Can you tell the viewers a little bit what makes this location here on US 92, off US 92, a great place for this shelter to be built?
Well, it's an ideal place because, one, the location it isolates them from some of the problems that they have been accustomed to down in the core of the city, where they have access to some of the things that have helped to mire them in the condition of homelessness. The second thing is it isolates them in a place that will focus on helping them to be rehabilitated and helping them to find jobs and to get back on the straight and narrow. So I think it's ideal.
And that's kind of the next question I was going to ask you. The facility itself will assist them in finding jobs and other things as far as getting them back on their feet. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We will help them to find jobs, help them to get dressed for jobs, provide interviewing skills, provide resume building skills. Certainly one of the chief components to getting a person out of the condition of homelessness is to help them to find a job. So that will be one of our main focuses here.
And Mayor, many times when people come into a facility like this, they do need some medical attention. Sometimes they come in inebriated or intoxicated. Will there be some medical services at the shelter for them as well?
Absolutely. Halifax Hospital has been very generous. They will have pretty much an entire wing to assist with the medical issues that many of our patients will be experiencing. So.
And several community partners have stepped forward and made contributions to First Step Shelter already. Can you talk a little bit with the viewers about that?
Sure. The CEO Business Alliance stepped forward with the $30,000 donation. The Speedway, ISC, and NASCAR, they all stepped forward with $15,000 donation. And we've had several private citizens come forward in the person of Roseanne Tornatore. She led a group that also made a $30,000 donation. We've had anonymous donations and up to $15,000. The city of Ormond Beach has joined in with $82,000 contribution. So things are really starting to get ramped up.
That's exciting. And how can people, if they wanted to assist with their own contributions to First Step Shelter, how would they be able to do that?
Quite naturally, they can give a call to Dr. Durham. He can help to direct them into the right area that they'll be able to help. Certainly, we're still in the process of finalizing things with Catholic Charities, but it will be very soon that we will be directing all inquiries for assistance to the operating agency.
Absolutely. Well, Mayor, thank you so much. I know you're excited about it. You've been working very hard on this project, and just to see what we're getting ready to do, I think is very exciting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Chief, all right, the shelter is about to come. Yes, it is. It's a real good thing. From the standpoint of law enforcement, how will this shelter kind of minimize some of the arrests that you're now seeing the department on a day-to-day basis have to deal with?
Well, it's going to help out tremendously because we're not going to arrest our way out of this problem. We need to get these people help that are homeless and get them back on their feet. So instead of officers being tied up with paperwork and making arrests, they can get out there in the community and do what they're supposed to do, protect the community, do checks, and make sure answer calls for service so the customers, our citizens, are getting the quality service they deserve.
Absolutely. And your department's going to be key, I think, to a lot of the things going on out here day to day. So will the department be involved in any kind of outreach to kind of help identify individuals within the city limits who may be appropriate for coming out to this facility?
Absolutely. We're doing that now, actually. We're trying to, see if we can get the homeless people we come across, get them some help. Bus tickets. We successfully got some of them home on bus tickets. And I think if you take the extra few minutes to talk to these homeless people, you can probably get them where they need to be. And I guess we're the first persons they see in the city is the police usually, so we want to try to help them out, and that's our goal, is to help them out the best we can and get them the services they need.
And let's talk about transportation for a little bit, because we've had inquiries about how transportation will be handled. I know, Mayor, that there will be 2 vans that will be purchased by the shelter itself for transporting, but will the police also assist in transporting individuals out to the shelter location?
Yes, if called upon and we come in contact that somebody needs a ride, we will definitely transport out here.
Great.
No problem.
And so the cost of arresting and prosecuting a person, that can be quite expensive. Where we see some people we see people who are arrested dozens and dozens of times because of petty offenses that happen within the city limits. How do you think that's going to impact, what we're seeing now in the cost of bringing them here versus arresting them and maybe taking them out to the jail?
It should drive those costs down, because a lot of times, like I said, these homeless people, somebody that's homeless it's not that they want to be homeless. Sometimes, and we're not going to arrest our way out of this problem. So if you can get them to the social services and get them to a shelter that's going to also provide, job placement and other things, living placement, it is the first step to get them back to become a productive member of society, get them somewhere to live. So that is huge. That's going to, I'm telling you, the money that's going to be saved, I can't even put a dollar figure on it, but it's going to definitely be a huge impact. Money can be spent elsewhere on crime-fighting measures.
Well, Chief and Mayor, let me congratulate you, because this to me is a crowning moment in the history of our city. There's a lot of cities who are trying to do what we're about to do, and so I think it's a feather in the cap of our leaders here in Daytona for making this actually happen. So thank you very much. Any last comments, Mayor, that you'd like to make?
Just continue to get involved. Let's continue to encourage our corporate and private citizens. Donations are much needed, and certainly your time and efforts will be appreciated as well.
All right, folks, there you have it. We're standing at the location where First Step Shelter will be built. The mayor and our chief of police are excited, as I am, about what's going to be happening out here on a day-to-day basis. So keep your eyes open. We'll be doing other reports and bringing you up to date. As soon as we start breaking ground and the progress of the actual facility going up into construction, we'll be bringing you those updates as well. It's good to have you watching Currents. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. L. Ronald Durham. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. Welcome to this edition of Currents. I'm your host, the Reverend Dr. L. Ronald Durham, Community Relations Manager for the city of Daytona Beach, Florida. Well, if you're wondering where we're standing today with this wooded area behind us, we're actually standing on the site where First Step Shelter is going to be built. I can't tell you how excited we are as the city of Daytona Beach and those of us who've been working on this project for a long time. Today I'm here with the mayor of Daytona Beach, Florida, Mayor Derek L. Henry, and the Chief of Police, Chief Capri. And both of these individuals are going to give you some very interesting information about what's going to be happening here at First Step Shelter. Mayor, welcome to the program. Chief, good to have you on today. So, Mayor, let's talk a little bit about this property and what's going to happen here. Can you tell the viewers a little bit what makes this location here on US 92, off US 92, a great place for this shelter to be built?
Well, it's an ideal place because, one, the location it isolates them from some of the problems that they have been accustomed to down in the core of the city, where they have access to some of the things that have helped to mire them in the condition of homelessness. The second thing is it isolates them in a place that will focus on helping them to be rehabilitated and helping them to find jobs and to get back on the straight and narrow. So I think it's ideal.
And that's kind of the next question I was going to ask you. The facility itself will assist them in finding jobs and other things as far as getting them back on their feet. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We will help them to find jobs, help them to get dressed for jobs, provide interviewing skills, provide resume building skills. Certainly one of the chief components to getting a person out of the condition of homelessness is to help them to find a job. So that will be one of our main focuses here.
And Mayor, many times when people come into a facility like this, they do need some medical attention. Sometimes they come in inebriated or intoxicated. Will there be some medical services at the shelter for them as well?
Absolutely. Halifax Hospital has been very generous. They will have pretty much an entire wing to assist with the medical issues that many of our patients will be experiencing. So.
And several community partners have stepped forward and made contributions to First Step Shelter already. Can you talk a little bit with the viewers about that?
Sure. The CEO Business Alliance stepped forward with the $30,000 donation. The Speedway, ISC, and NASCAR, they all stepped forward with $15,000 donation. And we've had several private citizens come forward in the person of Roseanne Tornatore. She led a group that also made a $30,000 donation. We've had anonymous donations and up to $15,000. The city of Ormond Beach has joined in with $82,000 contribution. So things are really starting to get ramped up.
That's exciting. And how can people, if they wanted to assist with their own contributions to First Step Shelter, how would they be able to do that?
Quite naturally, they can give a call to Dr. Durham. He can help to direct them into the right area that they'll be able to help. Certainly, we're still in the process of finalizing things with Catholic Charities, but it will be very soon that we will be directing all inquiries for assistance to the operating agency.
Absolutely. Well, Mayor, thank you so much. I know you're excited about it. You've been working very hard on this project, and just to see what we're getting ready to do, I think is very exciting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Chief, all right. The shelter is about to come. Yes, it is. It's a real good thing. From the standpoint of law enforcement, how will this shelter kind of minimize some of the arrests that you're now seeing the department on a day-to-day basis have to deal with?
Well, it's going to help out tremendously because we're not going to arrest our way out of this problem. We need to get these people help that are homeless and get them back on their feet. So instead of officers being tied up with paperwork and making arrests, they can get out there in the community and do what they're supposed to do, protect the community, do checks, and make sure answer calls for service so the customers, our citizens, are getting the quality service they deserve.
Absolutely. And your department's going to be key, I think, to a lot of the things going on out here day to day. So will the department be involved in any kind of outreach to kind of help identify individuals within the city limits who may be appropriate for coming out to this facility?
Absolutely. We're doing that now, actually. We're trying to, see if we can get the homeless people we come across, get them some help, bus tickets.
So that's the process. And we, as a board, as a semi-judiciary board, can say yes or no to any applicant for, based on our judgment. That's That's the point of it. That's the
Okay,
point of
so
this process.
Let's say they go through three doors down, somebody comes
They can
in.
appeal. Can they appeal a board decision?
Yeah, from this board, whatever your decision, the question ultimately gets to the city commission.
Right. Or from here, it will go to the planning board, then to the city commission.
Yes, yes. But you see what I'm saying,
So-
James, as far as
But yeah, I get that the floodgates are going to open. They kind of already have. We have, I think, 4 applicants in non-conforming zones.
Exactly.
So, that's already
That's why I
coming.
brought it up.
But we need to look at each one of those cases and decide whether it's appropriate for that place in that area, and considering not only the business itself but the surrounding area and proximity to possibly other businesses.
Then it's up to the city
So-
to put up in the code that you cannot open within X distance of.
No, they do not have that in there, but it's something we can consider, and that's something that is left to the judgment of this board, to the planning board, to the commission.
Or we can recommend, we can recommend
So,
it.
at any rate, yeah, we don't just have to let every applicant come in that wants to do this. I just wanted to be clear on that.
Yes. I'm sorry. Amy?
Go ahead. My question really isn't relevant. It's, I mean, you don't want to hear it.
All right. Yeah, Dino, I'm sorry. Dino, please.
Yeah, I wanted to say something. I don't know. It's kind of a question, but are we going to benefit somebody that's the first person to come up here to do this, and then we're going to say no to other people that want to do this? We've already heard somebody up here say, and you just said that
you
other
have
people
to
will be
make that
coming up.
judgment on a case by case.
On a case by case, but are we giving a unfair advantage to the other people just because these people got in line first? And if you want to look at it that way, I don't know if anybody can answer that question. Is it unfair to other people just because he put his form in first?
If I can, nobody's entitled to a planned district rezoning. It's in contrast to say our standard zoning categories where the code lays out what the requirements are for a tattoo parlor in districts where VA is allowed. If they meet the requirement, they're entitled to that use as of right. For a PD agreement, that's not true. However, if somebody else were to come before the city and request a rezoning to a PD agreement, the city would have to base its decision on the evidence presented, and the decision couldn't be arbitrary. And I don't have any ability to predict for you whether the next application would be on all fours with this one or not. Facts could change based on the individual circumstances. So legally, you wouldn't be setting a precedent by allowing for this. You have to look at the next case on its own time.
Okay, I'm sorry. Please, go ahead, please, you got a question.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what Mr. Newman was talking about. If at some point the city felt like we were running amok with tattoo parlors, don't they have the right to set a moratorium or to modify ordinances to restrict no more than 2 within a quarter mile or something like that? So if it gets to the point where people feel like it is going back to 1985, the city commissioners actually have the ability to change the ordinances and kind of pull back. Is that correct?
I think you're getting ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't know that our office would recommend that the city consider a moratorium of tattoo parlors, which are legal businesses. That was part of the reason for the litigation in the 11th Circuit. I think the point is the city commission doesn't have to allow this if it doesn't want to. And if other applications come in front of the city, the city would make the decision based on the facts presented.
And the other point is it does depend on the needs and desires of the community. So if we had 10 applicants come in for Main Street and people got up and said, we don't want any more, and the community speaks up against it, then that has to be taken into consideration also.
Okay, so I haven't looked at the case recently, but when we're talking about tattoo parlors, and we're talking about some of the cases that preceded our hearing tonight, there were ordinances in place that and B, in some cities, impose distance restrictions. I don't know that distance restrictions would be valid for tattoo parlors. They would, I think, be hard to justify for a legitimate business, especially when you're talking about a business that has First Amendment protection. So I'd have to do more research on that particular question to give you a final answer. But I suspect that distance limitations would be difficult to impose with us.
I think that answers my question.
I would like.
The other comment is that I don't feel like we should hold this applicant at fault, or that they should be held back from what they're trying to pursue based on things that are kind of unknowns, or based on what may happen. I'll just end with that.
Well, may I?
Yeah,
Okay. Let's just take a step back for a minute. Once Victory Tattoo is established in their place, remember, we as a city and particularly our redevelopment department can look at the vacancies on Main Street, and we can begin to proactively court other businesses, like nice things like ice cream shops, things like that, to come in. And if we worked a little harder to fill these businesses in, maybe we wouldn't have to worry about, oh my God, the only thing that's going to survive on Main Street is a tattoo parlor. So there are things we can do, I think, going forward. We don't have to worry. I think the PD plan here is onerous enough that you're not going to have, you've got only 2 people here, you've got 4 on the books. Some of those guys aren't going to make it. They're not going to be able to afford to slog through all of this. And then, my comment earlier about completely lifting it, that seems almost like, and you said you had a whole bunch of businesses on Main Street. I don't know which ones you're talking about, but I would ask you, if there were no prohibition on tattoo parlors in the redevelopment area, would you be interested in opening one again?
I would have tenants. I would not. I'm not against tattoo, Amy. I want to tell you this right now. I'm not against. I have vacant stores that I will welcome people. And people, the city turned down many different businesses, and I think you know that already. And not only tattoo, the city turned down a lot. I agree that we should bring different businesses, and if I had people coming to me and asking me they want to open a tattoo shop, first thing, like for the past 25 years, I go deal with the city first. Because no matter what they deal with the landlord, the city is a different story. The city is a different story. So now the city has to decide what direction they want to go. It's what direction do they want to go? They want to continue family? Then no. They want to open it. They want to open it to different businesses like tattoos, ice cream, and different places. Absolutely, I'm all for it.
Mr. Chair, if I can, I've been looking again through the staff report, and one other comment that I think might help you if you're concerned about approving this use leading to a proliferation of tattoo parlors. On page 5 of the staff report, there is an excerpt from the E-zone overlay, which is within the redevelopment element of the comprehensive plan. And about 5 or 6 lines down from the bottom after the bolded sentence, there is a reference to the idea that the overlay designation provides for mixed-use development. So I think if you were to face a proliferation of uses and you were concerned that you were getting too much of one use and you didn't have a mixture of uses, I think the city could decide for the E-zone in particular that you didn't want a concentration of too many of any specific use, let alone tattoo parlors. So
That was one of the big that was one of the big thing in the E-zone, is that they set up different businesses in different locations, not to disturb this business or not to disturb it. But the E-zone was a long time ago, and we got 2 speeds, slow and slower. So yes, please do.
I personally believe in the American capitalistic system. So if these guys can make it, I think it'll scare other people away. So a proliferation of tattoo parlors on Main Street, I'm not afraid of. Now, if they go out of business, and who's going to go into that building and open another tattoo parlor? I think it's a one-time, this application is subject to profit and losses, and like I said, I believe in the American capitalistic system, and the successors win and the losers lose.
Anybody, any other comments?
I have a question that I probably should have asked a lot earlier. This application is for use strictly as a tattoo shop? Are there other uses attached
Yes,
to
all
this?
the other uses that were actually listed in there.
So those will all be included.
Those
in
are
this.
all allowed. The residential uses upstairs.
So if for some reason they decide
not.
to move to another location or whatever, it might not necessarily be another tattoo shop. It could be any one of those other uses.
That's
Okay.
correct.
I wasn't clear on that.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
That's correct.
Any board members, any comment? Okay. I guess we're all ready to pass the vote.
You need a motion first, Mr. President.
Can I have a motion to vote for rezoning?
I will make a motion to approve
The rezone.
the rezoning, plan development, redevelopment, DEV 2017055 Victory Tattoo.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we got a motion. I guess no.
You should ask for nays.
Nays.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Nay.
Anybody?
Nay.
Yeah. I was anybody against?
Nay.
One. We have one. Motion passed to rezone. Congratulations. There you go. I don't know.
That was long.
Feeling it was entertaining though.
Okay.
I don't feel like we've had enough time to look at it and actually ask.
Okay. Let's clear up the
Let's see
discussion.
what's next.
Go to the next.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think so. Mine has
Is that working?
sticky notes.
Okay, we have a comprehensive sign plan, right? For the sign plan, Mr. Berger?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
The next item is a comprehensive sign plan, Longboards CSP DEV 2017-096.
Okay.
Okay? This is a request by Robert Merrill, and it is on behalf of Daytona JV LLC to approve a resolution for a comprehensive sign plan for the Longboard planned redevelopment site located at 415 South Atlantic Avenue. And I want to just go over some of the standards very quickly. The sign plan, if you read the bold at the bottom there, the applicant is entitled to a development of a master plan as a part of the approved Longboard PD agreement, but it does not meet the CSP eligibility criteria that's listed above at the current time. The applicant is also submitting, in fact, I know they have a submittal now into our office for a text amendment concurrent that'll run concurrent with the proposal that is before you now. So that is going to be a text amendment that will allow this to continue to go forward through this process, and so we'll get to the recommendation, and I'll make that a little clearer. Okay? As far as what's in there, the primary point that I wanted to pull out here is the extent that the CSP includes standards different from those in this code. The CSP shall control development of signs on the property. You've got all of that information in front of you about what the signs are. There's some extensive information in there with a plan. There's a couple charts, and they also have provided some of the examples for the what is the Land Shark restaurant, and these are different locations. And then you also have the restaurant that's there, the Cocina. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Rob? Cocina. Yeah. Okay. Cocina.
Cocina's kitchen. Cocina's different.
All right. might not ask what that is, but cocina. Thank you very much for anyone that's interested.
It's a shell.
So the Cocina 214 has its style. You can see it's a lot more limited on signs, but this is all on one parcel, and so we have to review this as how many signs you can have on a parcel, how large they can be, and currently under the T1 district, what's proposed here would not work. But under a CSP, what you can allow is additional waivers that from the Land Development Code, and as long as that's acceptable and approved as a part of the CSP, you can move forward and seek that approval. So right now, this is just one side of the, and I'm just showing some of the items that are in your packet for the Land Shark and the Cocina restaurant. And the lot of the signs that are there, I got to go to the one that I think it's is that a monument sign there? I think it is. So that's just an example where you have a sign, and that one is a fairly large, and so it's but it's also very reasonable for that large of a parcel, and we don't see where it is exactly on the plan, but we do know that that is a copy design that can be revised. So just understand, we're not here to approve content and what's in there. We're here to look at the signage requirements in area and height and that sort of dimensional requirement. And if you're exceeding the T1, then you need to get these waivers. Okay? So moving forward, there's a future concept in here. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about that, but that's an interesting concept. And back at the end, you can see the scale of the person in there. Would be some kind of a future sign, but not one that's been provided in any detail. A lot of the information that you have in here is going to be explained further in some of the proposals that are in there. And okay, understand that when you see this chart, it's a little hard to see up on the screen, but the information is there. Staff has tried to look at the totals that have been provided, and we gave you all of that information in that report that shows the wall signs, ground signs, the roof signs for each of those restaurants. Again, most of the regulations that we have in T1 are going to refer to by parcel. So and with such a large parcel, there's just it's going to be very difficult to meet those requirements, and particularly with several uses on there. In this case, the first two restaurants. Furthermore, I think the Land Shark has a fairly extensive sign package that goes with some of their other stores that they have, and some of the signs you see in here, like the seawall sign, is a separate requirement in terms of number when you count number of signs, and even though it's kind of included in that chart, there are regulations that are separate for that seawall sign, and in a number of cases, those individual signs meet the size requirements for a T1. It's just we have a lot of different signs. Those little arrows, the directional signs and all of that, typically those are directional signs are allowed without the regulation that you see for some of these bigger signs. So overall, when you look at the signs that are in front of the building that we control through sign permits, you have other signs that are in the back that may not require a permit because they're not visible from the street. It's a little more complex than the typical sign packages we see, but I would say that in keeping with the type of destination restaurants you're looking at here, we're not too concerned. There is one, I think, set of standards in there that kind of open the door up quite a bit, and that is in the fine print. And the applicant might want to speak to this. It's just what can you do with the signs in terms of meeting the design standards that we have. So we're getting beyond dimensional standards, and staff doesn't have any concern about it. But we're just pointing out that there is this is all about flexibility, and I think the applicant wants as much flexibility as possible when it comes to whether these signs are lit or not lit or what they're going to provide. This CSP controls what happens out there, and anyone that's going to come in and ask for these different signs can do so. And if they aren't proposing exactly what's there in that plan, there's some provisions that give them some latitude. Probably shouldn't use that name, but it gives them some opportunity to changes in latitude, and so that's pretty much the set of waivers that are all in there. I'm not going to detail through them all. You had an opportunity, hopefully, to read through them all. If you have any questions about them, be happy to answer that. The last part of this that I want to bring to your attention is in the recommendation that staff has, and that goes back to the fact that while we're recommending an approval of this proposal, it does require that all LDC waivers are approved by the action of the City Commission. Okay. We may find some more items in here because it is so detailed that we may have to call out as we're moving forward and having discussion with the applicant. But hopefully we caught most of them that are in here. Secondly, this comes with a condition that a text amendment is approved by the City Commission authorizing the applicant's project to be eligible for being granted a comprehensive sign plan. And so it's another item that will we're assuming refer to in those eligibility standards criteria that's right up front with the comprehensive signs plans. So that's the end of my report. Okay.
Can we hear from the applicant? Sure.
Yes, handouts too. The lovely Ms. LaCroix is going to pass out. Rob Merrill for the record, 149 South Ridgewood with law firm Cobb Cole, here on behalf of the applicants. Over a year ago, I appeared before this board with a rezoning we called the Longboard PD, and interestingly, this project is under construction, and normally that's not the place I find myself where I'm here to talk to you about something that's actually being built. It is. Both of these restaurants, and I'm showing you two pictures here just of the signage that are these actual restaurants. These are the two restaurants that are coming to Daytona Beach on the Beachside. The first restaurant, I think, built on the beach since the Ocean Deck or something. It's been a long time. And we love the Ocean Deck, but we don't have any restaurants on the beach. And for the longest time, and I don't know if you guys know this, but the restaurants weren't allowed on the beach as a standalone use, which the craziness, I just have no idea how it all happened. But I think that's being changed. But we had this PD approved as part of that change. And so as part of the rezoning process, PD process, we didn't have our sign ducks in a row yet. These two hadn't locked in completely, so we didn't know for sure what was going to be done from a signage standpoint, so we put a placeholder in the PD and said we can do a sign plan. So that's what you're looking at in the big package. I didn't give you a full-size version of the big package. I just wanted to see the pictures because, in my view, this is kind of one of those deals where if you've got somebody who's got a track record, like these two restaurants, if you haven't been to either of these two restaurants, they're both fantastic. They got a track record. We want them here in Daytona, and they are under construction right now. So there's no lawyer up here telling you this might happen. This is happening, and this is the signs they want to build. So the reason why we had to come back with a sign plan is because we didn't know what we wanted for signage. Now we do. This is what it looks like when they're really built. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them for you.
I do, but anybody else has any questions?
I have questions. So let's say that we had a whole bunch, because there's going to be more place. It's a big parcel, so there'll be more tenants there. Say that everybody has 28 signs or something, and they're all lit up. I'm assuming there's going to be provision made to safeguard the visibility on the beach and all that.
There is, and so everything has to be permitted by the county environmental management division as far as the lighting goes, and so that's in process.
Okay. And then my only other concern that stood out for me, I saw a big beer bottle on its side on top of the tiki hut, and I know that we're not trying to promote Daytona Beach as a place to go wild and party. And I'm wondering about that. Like, are people going to come over the ISB Bridge and see a big beer bottle on a roof?
It's not that big, but
okay.
Yeah, they will. I mean, so this is the Land Shark Bar and Grill. This is what it is. So it's Jimmy Buffett, and that's his beer, and I like beer. I hope you guys do too.
I like beer.
So
You've seen me. I've seen you. I've seen you at the brew pub.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be a great restaurant, and they have great beer, by the way. I had one yesterday, the exact beer. It's pretty good.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Not sure because I didn't have a whole lot of time to go through this, but will this signage meet hurricane standards?
Absolutely. All of it's all. If you look through the entire plan, you see the engineering piece of it it's to building code. So It's got to be approved by the building department, and it's got to be done to hurricane standards.
And I didn't notice any sign.
The fine print that Reed was talking about.
Well, in another package, the pinups had up to 160 mile an hour where I could read that, but and that's what brought up the question. Also, I didn't see any signs about truck deliveries. One of my pet peeves is you go down A1A and in front of the Ocean Walk, you have trucks. There's a little loading thing, and no one schedules those trucks, but having a truck, the long Land Shark beer truck parked on A1A while somebody unloads it doesn't. Is there going to be an unloading area?
Yeah, we almost need Bill to come back in to answer for that one, because that's where the problem is. This one is not a problem. This is first of all the circulation, the vehicular circulation doesn't have anything to do with the signage, other than you want to make sure the signage is good enough so the trucks and the cars know where to come and go. In this case, they've got the site plan's been approved, the zoning is approved, then the site plan is approved, and it's under construction. So the piece of it that has to do with where the trucks come and go isn't really before you. And I can't answer it intelligently because I didn't do the engineering for the site plan, but the transportation consultants and the civil engineering company, Zevco and Associates, and Lassiter Transportation did. And so the circulation is all worked out. It's done. Now, whether there are any signs that are in the sign plan that would potentially disorient a truck, I'm not sure about that, but I think this is going to be signed well enough that the trucks know where to go. And I think you see this as such a comprehensive look at the sign plan. I think it covers all those bases. Directional signs, we talked about things that sort of you take for granted. The big ones were the ones we want to make sure we're in front of you guys from a discretionary standpoint and make sure you're okay with it.
Okay.
I think you kind of answered one of my questions with Jenny. One of the issues here is the sea turtles with our seawalls and everything. And I'm going to assume that when you presented this, that's been addressed. So that's not going to be, there's
Absolutely
no lighting
true.
issues during turtle season.
There's nothing that the city could do to waive that. That's enforced by the county on behalf of the state and the federal government.
Okay.
And we're getting that permitted presently.
Okay. So then the other question is, has this been cleared with all the law enforcement agencies and the beach patrols as far as anything that would endanger like emergency lights and things that might be confused with this kind of lighting? Is Is that something?
Well,
that
a lot of this isn't lighting; it's just signage. So,
well, some of it, but
to the extent that
there are lights and signs and things, and it's anything that impedes like emergency vehicles or something that would be confusing.
it's an interesting question because you're actually looking at a government that has jurisdiction on the ocean and another one that has it on the land. So, so that really drives home the point about the turtle part of this, because they have their own permitting. It's a minimum standard that the city abides by in terms of the lighting piece. But in terms of the emergency part of it, I don't know the answer to that question, and I don't know to the extent that the beach management department has emergency vehicles on the beach. I don't know that they even weigh in. This is something that's approved by the city, both the site plan and the building permits that have already gone through the process, and then the signage piece of this. So Ben, I don't know if you know something that I don't know about that weigh in.
The only thing I can tell you is that our fire department is part of the TRT.
True.
And I'm assuming that they're linked in with the county, and if there were those concerns, they would be expressed during TRT through the fire department.
The bad news is not much gets built on the beach, so that question doesn't come up that often.
Okay.
Soon we will have that.
I just thought I should ask it. I'm assuming in the planning stage that's been addressed, but definitely when you've got all these different signs and things going on, and we have multiple agencies involved, it doesn't hurt to ask.
I can tell you, in my experience with the county dealing with the ocean deck and their permitting for their activities there, where you hit the sand, then the county begins to weigh in on what happens, whether it's the beach department, the lifeguards, or the beach, the emergency guys. There's where it comes into play. But I think when you're upland, they really don't have a say, other than the lighting.
And I don't know, excuse me, I don't know where I read this, or maybe I misread it. Are any of these signs in the right-of-way?
They can't be.
They can't?
No.
So we're not approving any kind of modification to the beach right-of-way or anything like that, or anything that would, in the future, hopefully the boardwalk extends out that far, that would be an issue?
These signs are all on private property. That's all that can be approved.
Dino?
No, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think I want it to get built.
It's under construction. Go look at it. You'll see it's under construction.
Every day. I have a couple of questions for you, please. Is the building? Listen, I've been.
That's not the building.
No, I know, but I've been to some of these places, and they have a lot of signage all around the building. Is the concept going to be the same thing here in Daytona?
Yeah, that's why I brought you the pictures. I mean, so one of them's Myrtle Beach and one's Atlantic City, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is what we're trying to bring. And so to your point about the beer bottle thing on the top, I mean, this is going to be an activated kind of area. We don't want this to be a quiet restaurant over in the corner somewhere. That's not what we're trying to bring.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's what we want. This is it's not the E zone, but this is the same kind of thing we're trying to bring, is the energy from that.
Because what Mr. Berger was saying, it's one thing the signage that's outside the building, that's attached to the outside the building, and that's what the city has the right to whatever.
Right, so you can see it from the street.
Exactly.
Right.
But it's inside the frame of the doors, whatever is inside. Is that going to be seen too?
Yeah, see, that's always a tough question. We do this all the time. So the question is, does the city inspector have to walk around the back of the desk and see whether the sign can be? And so that happens, though. The conversation happens all the time. We're doing sign permitting in Daytona. In this case, I think it's pretty wide open, Joe Bear. I mean, I think these buildings, as you see, they're being constructed. They're in front of everything. So I don't care where you walk along A1A or the beach, you're going to see these signs. So that's why we gave you a comprehensive look at it. Every sign that you see in this comprehensive sign plan is a sign we're going to build.
Now, Mr. Berger, the signage, the way it is written down right now, it's according to the retail size of the building. The signage of whatever goes in any building is according to the size of the building, not
unless it's a PD.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Right.
Which is what we're doing.
Which is what we're doing in this case.
To change it.
Or any comprehensive sign plan, you can request a waiver.
Okay.
Yeah, and so in this case, this is one that has kind of a blank template right now because we left it open, to come back because we didn't know what we were going to do yet, and we needed to get this thing done last year. So these guys would lock in to build these restaurants, and Consolidated would move forward with the development. So at the end of the day, this kind of had to be done. So it doesn't really matter what the other stuff says. We had to write our own code.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things because, like you said, this is what we're looking for. This is what we want in Daytona. This is not an attorney standing here and saying maybe it's going to be built. It is being built. So this is something that it's happening right now, and I definitely support it. Can't wait to go and try, like you said, try there.
Everybody's excited about it.
I tried it there, so, sure, not a problem. Any other comments from anybody
Yeah.
else, please?
It's my turn. You mentioned a text amendment. Hi, Rob. A text amendment that it sounded like you said there was going to be a text amendment that would kind of preclude all this or make all this.
Let me explain. The PD agreement says that the signage for the PD, as a matter of default, has to comply with T1 provisions in the Land Development Code. It then goes on to say that they may come up with a master plan in the future. Now, I wasn't part of the process by which that agreement was completed, but I'm assuming that when they referred to master plan, they meant this kind of consolidated plan. A master plan is something different, though. A master plan would basically be doing a PD amendment just to do signage. And the provisions in the code that allow for a consolidated sign plan have a slightly more streamlined process. However, if you look at the Land Development Code currently, this development wouldn't qualify for a consolidated sign plan. The code is fairly specific, but over time, as these types of developments have occurred, the list of developments that can have comprehensive sign plans has expanded. Okay. And so what staff is proposing to do here is to add this type of development to the list. And the type of development that would be added would be something like a T1 or PD development east of A1A with at least 6 acres.
So the text amendment is something that will come before the City Commission. That's not what we're approving here.
No, I think
we're approving something that will be asked.
To help explain it.
Yeah, the reason why Reed is bringing it up is technically, if you make the recommendation to make sure that the City Commission, which would have to vote on the comprehensive sign plan, that they understand, I think staff's request is that you make the recommendation subject to the text
then
amendment
they're
going
going to
forward
have
that
to
would
make
allow
the
this.
text amendment to allow it.
Yeah.
Right,
So,
I got you.
Amy, let me just try to explain something. Ben, and thank you. You did a good job of that,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah,
want to give
he
a little
did.
bit of history because I invented the comprehensive sign. I
did.
I did.
Yeah.
So the Speedway was such a unique animal that, and the signage was always a problem. You got to get a variance for this or do something. And we finally said we wanted to do a comprehensive look at the signage for this whole giant Speedway, project. And this is 15 years ago, maybe, right? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And so we said, well, how do we do this? Well, we started this, we changed the Land Development Code to say you can do a comprehensive sign plan if you're in this category.
MS Sports District.
And the Speedway was it.
Right.
And so then we did it. And everybody said, okay, great. Now that when we go out there and get a permit for a sign, we know we can look at page 17, at paragraph 7, and we know that that's the sign we can put out there. And so they did. And the sign works great at the Speedway now. So then the hospital came along, Halifax Hospital. And I said, well, why don't we do a comprehensive sign plan there? Okay. So we changed the code again and said, well, how about we do it at the hospital? We did that. And then Emory Real says, well, that's a pretty good idea. So they hired me to do we did that. Same thing for Bethune-Cookman. So down the line, that's what's happening. We didn't have this one in mind. Mm-hmm. And so when we did this PD, and it's a little bit my mistake, when we did this PD, we should have said clearly a comprehensive sign plan as shown in this land development section that we did these last 5 or 6 times. So on Friday, late, we were in the middle of another firestorm, and Debbie, God bless her, talked to Carrie and said, well, if we just did this with a text amendment in addition with it, that would be the way we could do it. I'm giving you a long story about the answer to your question, but it all makes sense because it was something that came down historically that we thought this was going to be the right wording in the PD agreement, and we should have been clearer about it. So
it's clear that the
PD.
I'm sorry, Rob. It's clear that the PD agreement contemplates that there'd be a sign plan following.
Right. And I'm sure all that's in here, but I will say receiving this on Friday is, not that we shouldn't vote on it tonight, but I really, really would like to see things at least a week in advance, especially if they're this big. Because we kind of come in and, we're doing our best to read it over the weekend.
I think the storm did it.
We want to be,
I think the storm did that to everybody. Same with ours.
But
Right.
the date
But
on these signs, drawings are March of 17.
Oh yeah, no, we did it a while back. So I'm just saying, I think that what held up the process of getting the package to you. I'm trying to defend his. I know everybody was in the same situation.
I know, but I've seen stuff come before this board when I wasn't on there that was kind of. I'm just throwing that in as a little. Please, as soon as possible, we get these things. So I appreciate the explanation, because by reading all this through once, since I'm not a lawyer, it would be very hard for me to understand exactly what's going on. So forgive me if I ask some questions. So this is not, we're not approving any particular design. We're basically approving an amount of signage that will be allowed on this property. Is that
it's a
correct?
Template, so and Ben can tell you about the whole First Amendment piece of it, but the content itself, you're not. I mean, so I'm showing you the content because these are the people that are actually building these restaurants.
Right.
These are the signs they've done, and those are the parameters that we've outlined in the plan.
Okay.
And so the answer is, it's a sign that can be this high, that area, and it has to have this monument, or it has to be up on this type place of the wall. But it can say something a little different.
Right. Yeah, and if I can add something, to the extent that this sign code doesn't address an issue, the PD agreement addresses it, and if the PD agreement doesn't address it, the LDC does.
Right.
Well, one thing that's in the PD agreement is there are architectural standards.
Right.
So those architectural standards would still apply. They're not being trumped. They're not being trumped by this sign amendment. And then, of course, if the architectural standards don't speak to something specifically, you then roll over and refer back to the Land Development Code.
Okay.
But the truth is, you're seeing the actual design that's coming forward, because these guys are getting ready to build these signs.
Right, and I appreciate that.
The real
That's the honesty about it. It's
case.
like it's going to be a land shark. This is what it's going to look like. So I mean, we really, and we like the fact that these are being built. I see a balance, like land shark's getting all the signage, and Cocina's getting like one little one. It's kind of interesting. So you're spreading them around the site. So my last question would be, will there be any neighborhood, when the real signs are going up, is the neighborhood that's closest to this, which is really Mike's neighborhood, are they going to have any say in how, all these signs are clumped together right here, or is there any kind of neighborhood meeting going to happen?
They can look at the plan that you have right here. So you guys are them. I mean, this is the neighborhood meeting, if you will, for signs. And so these are going to go through sign permits, which go through the building department. That's where it goes.
Yeah, good.
The two restaurants are really like phase one to the longboard, high rise, and all that other stuff. Does this get grandfathered down or up or sideways, or?
No, what we're going to have to do is, so I told you there's a placeholder before, and it was basically a blank placeholder to do this. God willing, if Jimmy Buffett decides he wants to build a hotel on top of this restaurant, we're going to come back and amend this sign plan to show here's what the hotel sign was going to look like. And it may be an incorporate. So this one has both. So we might have to come back in a minute to show, the restaurant, or the hotel there too. So this says, resorts, and we've got the whole surf shack. So the answer is we got to come back when that happens. Because we left some, you remember this was very flexible, and everybody was so worried about the flexibility. And we said, look, that's the way commerce is going to make this happen. This is the way the free market's going to be working on this one. And we need something to fill that blank hole and all the other ones along the beach. And everybody kind of, I know, we're still, and had some anxiety about that, including the commission. And ultimately it was unanimously approved by everybody across the board. But it had those kind of, that flexibility that I can't tell you what the next sign's going to look like until I know who comes in.
So this is like a single use?
This is for these two restaurants.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions from any other board members? Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr.
Technically, you're supposed to ask if there are any affected parties that wish to speak. You might not have got any form signed.
Is any affected parties with anything with this signage? Okay, I guess we can pass to get a motion to, I guess, can I get a motion for the comprehensive sign plan? Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to pass the comprehensive sign plan, Longboard CSP DEV 2017-096.
I got a motion over here.
If I may, before it gets seconded, could you make that subject to the LDC text amendment being adopted?
Subject to the
LDC
text amendment
being adopted.
Second.
I got a second. We got a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All against, say nay.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody's for it. Thank you very much, Mr. Mara.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
Next is the redevelopment division. We have Mr. Berger, I guess, is a memorandum.
Once I find it here, let's see.
Sure.
Okay. I'll just go by this. All right, this is a request before you to add a rigid awnings and a canopy and architectural accent lighting for a business known as Pinups, located 400 East International Speedway Boulevard. You have in your packet some information showing the signs that were included, both for a freestanding monument sign, which is not the request before you tonight, but it's part of the overall package that we received. That is getting processed separately right now, and then in addition to that, the same style and look is intended for a canopy and awning that would be located along the entire building of Pinups. So we do have the representative with the applicant tonight, Mr. Ray Webb, and certainly I think he may want to approach the podium after I finish up. But the way this works is that we have a provision in the code when we have redevelopment standards that are not. It's not an appeal that we're looking at here, but the fact that there is a specific provision in the code that says that if someone wants to put up not a fabric type of awning that you typically will see, and that's what we allow, is a canopy. We don't allow vinyl, but we do allow the fabric, umbrella, and other types of material on these awnings. Those are the redevelopment standards that we have. But we have said, no, you can't have because it says in the code and in the standards, you can't have a rigid or fixed awning or the canopy without the redevelopment board's approval. We're not saying we're against it. It's going to have a similar look, and in this case, if it's going to be a metal material, and it's going to pretty much look the same. It's just going to be actually maybe a stronger material than the fabric. It might not fade as much, but it's up to this board to make a determination, and not staff. In addition to that, there's another request, and that is architectural accent lighting. That's a part of the drawing. I'm just going to kind of go right over to the drawing itself, which has a canopy that's going to project over the main entrance, and then for the entire length of the building, you're going to see the awning, and underneath that awning and canopy, along the whole perimeter, would be an LED rope, and so that is something that we do not allow in the redevelopment areas, but it can be allowed as the not by staff but by the redevelopment board to allow the architectural accent lighting. So it's really up to this board to determine whether or not that's appropriate in this case. Okay, so I think at this point we don't make a recommendation as staff on this. We leave it between you and the applicant. So if you could hear from the applicant, and then we'll be glad to answer questions along the way.
Thank you, Mr. Berger.
You're welcome.
The applicant, please.
Good evening. Raymond Webb with Kenco. Joe Bear, how are you tonight?
How are you, sir?
I was about to fall asleep in the aftermath of that last one, but
sorry for boring you.
Not a problem. But I represent the owners that have come aboard with respect to this property, and I'm not in the morality industry, I'm in the cosmetic, so I would like to generate my opinion with just respect to that. The avenue that we're approaching is to take the 85-foot long building and just cover that garish frontage that it had it represents right now in the past, with the same type of look that we've done in the other two areas that they've opened similar clubs, one in Palm Bay, one in Melbourne. Basically, the illumination factor would be in the 10-eps area on these three front view signs. The monument sign is not in question. It is being permitted as we speak. There is the allowability of this awning already. So the avenue that I'm approaching this board with is the avenue of how do we cover this. So Mr. Berger and I have discussed the fact that the vinyl would not be an allowable entity, so I've come back, we approached this with a different avenue, and we would make it more of a mansard type roof and make it in metal, painted that color to match the signage, and the only thing that would illuminate would be the copy, which is allowable. And then the avenue of the LED lighting is not really garish by any means. It's just very low voltage lighting. It's in one area of the lower part of the awning. It's just to illuminate the front cap of the awning, just to give it a little architectural embellishment. From what I've been reading on articles, soft retractable flame-proof awnings are permitted over the first floor, which I went back to read. He said they really are permitted as a soft retractable awning type on and above upper floors above windows only. Well, this place is all windows, as you see across the frontage. Those areas to the left have been blocked out windows from previous owner. This area would be, kind of just facelifted, and that's what I do for a living. I just kind of give the building a brand new image. The awning and canopy is in its originality was going to be like a soft flex awning. We've been told now, and I know that some of you in the Beachside area have the soft flex awning. I've done one for you in the past.
Yes, sir.
Now, they're trying to express to me that it might be better if we did this in a metal fabricated area. The wind load would be more superior on it. We've just had 2 major hurricanes, so the avenue of architecture and fixating myself on making something endure these storms, we would have to take and beef this structure up about twice what I would normally do an awning. So that's my approach with this, and basically we're asking that you allow the LED lighting to be a part of that as well. It's like only about a 1/2 inch tall, and it runs the whole dimensional value of that awning integrity right there, which is about 85 feet. Foregoing the fact that the monument sign is not part of this request. It has already been approved and is going through the permit process right now. We're planning on, subjective to what you're going to allow, we're planning on utilizing an aluminum structure beefed up to exceed the 160 mile an hour wind load area, which we don't even have in that area right now. I think it's 140, isn't it? So at any rate, we're going to go to that 160 mile an hour wind load area. We're going to cover it with aluminum, and it's going to be, rigid structurally a part of the building, fastened appropriately with engineering documents, and then the illuminated awning portion of it would just be like a little avenue that just gives it a little twinkle, Other than that, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions from the board?
Yeah.
Mr. Newman?
Oh,
Sorry. Any questions, sir?
No, just comment that it certainly looks like an improvement on the building from what is currently
I think we're all in agreement with them, Senor.
Regardless of what the business is,
Yes.
it's just an improved visual.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Like I said, it's not the morality issue.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm not here for the morality issue. I'm here to represent the owner and the request for the cosmetic industry.
I like it too, and I like the fact that somebody's willing to invest in that property and make it look better. My only comments would be that, is the color something we want to see there? And the lighting, is it going to blink and flash?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay.
Just a constant.
All right. Well, I like the steady light. I think would look nice. I think that's great.
It's more of a purplish, not a maroon color.
Right.
But, it's not a garish looking color. We've done it in several other locations. It's really catchy.
Do you have any photographs of those places?
Not with me.
No,
I do, though.
I wonder because I just, I don't know. Do we have color standards in the redevelopment area? I know we do in the E zone, but I mean, I hate to stop this. I know I like what they're doing. I just wonder if is that pinups color, and they use it in their other locations, and that's
correct.
the only
That's
that's
correct.
their
That's
color.
the universal color they use in all their locations.
So
I asked that color be part of this
Right.
subjective
Right.
as well. I hate for that to change at the 11th hour.
No, and I mean, and I understand why it needs to be that if it's your logo color, kind of.
Well, I can guarantee you one thing: that area has been blighted.
I live there. I live a block away. I know.
And I've lived.
I'm just
in
trying
this
to do
area
my
a long
due
time.
diligence,
Well,
okay?
I
I know.
hate to say that building is a
No.
complete eyesore,
Yeah.
and at least they're doing something to make
You're right.
it more attractive.
You're
So,
right.
This is a general, a large facelift. It's not inexpensive by any means.
It's really tough. Yeah, I like it. I'm okay with it.
Have any questions? How about you, sir?
The LED, are they like rope lights or are they like Christmas lights?
No, it's not like Christmas lights at all. It's a siliconized LED that's encased in siliconized area.
It's built
It has a
in.
radius front on it. It comes in 50-foot rolls, and you can daisy chain them, but it doesn't look anything like what you're thinking about right now.
Okay.
It is purple in color to match. So the purple is, it carries that same color.
So is it a consistent band of light then? Or
It's a consistent
is it...
band of light all the way through universally. And the prismatic avenue of it is based on the fact that the LEDs are behind instead of out front. You don't see the LEDs itself, you just see the illumination.
Let me just, if I can, add for you that the Land Development Code prohibits flashing signs. Nothing you can do here tonight would allow that, and they're not proposing that.
No, we're not proposing that at all.
Yeah.
Dina, any questions, please?
Yeah, I have one question. Underneath the awning, is that going to be lit up? I know you can't really shine
There
light
is
through.
there is LED fixtures there now that will stay to
Like
have
the-
security lighting shining down. The avenue was at first with the soft flexible awning fabric that the entire parameter would light. Well, foregoing that, we definitely need lighting for security going down, and the avenue of that little purple light all the way around would just kind of enhance that because you're not going to see anything.
It's going to be like
other
a
than
soft glow, that LED lighting?
very soft glow, very tasteful. It's come a long way in the last 10 years. The last 2 years, I've seen the major development of LED products, which we handle a ton of.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit struggling with the lighting, and I'm guessing the color's like a soft violet, because I've seen.
It is a soft violet in color. That's all you'll see at night.
That's a
Yeah, kind of like this.
Oh, really?
Correct.
Oh, it's nothing like in the
No,
picture.
that's too
No,
dark.
it's a soft violet,
Yeah.
just as her.
Nice
The bottom line is that's all you'll see at night.
Much
You
better.
won't see the canopy during the evening hours.
So here's where I'm struggling. I mean, the club is there. I know that we had all hoped that maybe it would at some point go away, but it's not, so it's there, and we're going to deal with that. And the positive part is that they are making a lot of improvements, because right now it's awful, frankly. But I struggle with adding additional lighting to add a lot of extra attention when you're coming down Speedway. That, I'm totally supportive of the awning. It enhances the property, and it definitely makes the facade look better. I just struggle with adding another piece of lighting that just kind of draws attention that this is a gentleman's kind of. I know
It's a very, very subdued light.
Yeah.
12 volt. It's very.
Yeah, it's a very subdued lighting.
But and that's it. That's what I said. It was kind of on the fence with it, but then also there's already going to be other lighting because of security that's already going to be shining. So we
Well,
still
yeah,
have
but
a lot
I'm
of
planning
lights.
on putting dimmers on all of that, because that is almost overpowering. Where there is about 16 fixtures right now, we're cutting that back to about one every 5 feet. We're going to take out about a third of them.
And this is kind of a side. Are they going to pull us around the side too, or is it
No, ma'am. It follows the side just right where it stops right there. Just follows the avenue of the building architecture.
It's a definite improvement. So I can't.
Well, thank you for that, at least.
One more question. Is the bottom side going to be painted as well?
Everything would be painted, yes. It's not going to be one of the cheesy metal looks that people throw up. Just the cheaper deals. No, not on this side of it.
All right. First thing that I'd like to, first of all, I want to say thank you to them for using a local company instead of going out, like other companies going out and hiring other outside companies. I'm glad they're using you.
We're trying real hard in this area for a lot of people to use us. Hard Rock's using us right now.
Good.
So,
I'm
and
sure
I'm not
Junior-
done with chasing land shark either by any means. That's why Rob was kind of
Good luck, you
excited.
guys.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, not a problem. I'm glad it's you. I know. Now, question to you, and I think Dino and Marsha was asking the same question, and I've been using a lot of LED, so I know it's not. So the main lighting, it is not going to be the LED.
No,
it's just an accent light.
It's an accent lighting.
Okay. You answered the other question was a lot of the lights that are there now are going to come down, and then you're spacing them.
We're going to space them to where they're just for security measures, and that's going to be a white light that actually shines.
My
down.
main concern, and I'm going to tell you, and I'm sure everybody here knows it, bringing people from out of town on Speedway. I don't want them to focus
I understand that
Ray,
completely,
listen,
and I'm not. Like I said, I'm not the trigger.
Yeah.
I'm just a mechanism.
No, I understand, and believe me, I understand exactly where you're coming from. But I'm trying hard to when people come to town, I want them to focus on that big signs, "Welcome to Daytona Beach," not looking and that's why I don't want this to be a.
Inadvertently, I understand, but inadvertently, every city in the state has this right now.
You're right.
So it's one of those things where it didn't go away. That's not my fault or my position to say yes or no.
Yep.
I'm just here as a cosmetic industry to dress it up as much as I can to make it look at least sightly.
I have no doubt, Ray. I have no doubt that you're going to dress it up and clean it up, and like everybody said, it's going to be it's a big improvement for that area.
I promise you, it'll be a beautiful entity when I'm done with it.
I have no doubt you've done many for everybody, not only for me, for a lot of the people on the beach side, and everybody's satisfied. But you see why everybody is concerned, and that's what you say. You're just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger.
Right.
You're just the messenger. But
I do believe without allowing it to happen, you're still going to have. Now you're going to have a sign there, and you're still going to have an unsightly building.
Yes.
Okay. So to enhance the building in some architectural festooning way is what I'm after.
You can beat them, join them. You know the old saying?
Yeah, do you want people to drive by and see that ratty building, or do you want them to drive by and at least see an attraction?
I agree with you 100%. That's the thing. But
because they're going to drive by and see it one way or the other.
But it was the lighting. If the lighting was the main focus, a lot of lights, that would have been a distraction for people coming in. But if he put, like he says, the LED and it's an accent light. I think it's.
We're about to add an accent light to the streamline that we built as well.
Eddie told me.
Yeah, and it's going to be more subdued because the water intrusion on it right now has been a problem. So we're ripping all that out.
Yeah.
We're going to make a real soft, pliable, flexible, the same type of lighting that I'm going to use here on his
Yes,
building.
not
So
a problem. I don't doubt your work, Ray. I told you that already. I don't doubt. It's just, and you answered the question. It is an accent light. It's not the main lighting.
no, it's not the main thing you're going to see. First
So
thing.
I think I'm okay with it. Anybody? Any other board members?
Go ahead.
I actually think it's quite tasteful, and it could end up attracting some more businesses to want to invest along there.
I think that area being to where it is right now with the I don't know whether the Shell station sold or not. You know, I'm not sure. But all those areas, all that emptiness right there. That we come across, we show them what we've got right at the Speedway, then we bring them to the Beachside, and it's like, what the hell is this? You know, and thank God we're broad enough to where we're recognizing we have these problems. And the E-zone was supposed to have been already part of us a long, long time ago. Well, the land shark, the hard rock, and I'm not saying that this is one of them, but it could be an attractive entity as well. So that's what we're after.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a suggestion, because we're kind of hung up on the lighting. Maybe for the next, because this is a dry run for you, maybe for the next couple of presentations, you bring a picture or sample hunk of light. Just a suggestion.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? No. No. So.
Mr. Chair, I know you're going to ask if there's discussion or a vote. I just want the record to reflect there's nobody in the audience. Otherwise, you'd be obligated to ask.
I was going to say, I was going to say anybody against, but there's none. So, can I get Mr. No. Can I get a motion to pass the memorandum for the signage for this location? This location.
I make a motion to approve the sign plan
Yes.
as submitted.
I got a motion.
Yeah.
Ms. Payaporo, I got a second here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All against? Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ray. Thank you. Any comments for the board members? Any
On that?
No.
No.
Just in general.
Are you kidding?
Here, okay. Well, might as well make the coffee pot. Let's get the coffee.
No. Listen, I always have something.
Absolutely.
I made a brief mention when we were talking about the land shark thing. I mean, it's moderately upsetting to me to have to look at something on Friday it's that huge. And I understand that land shark is land shark. It's a beautiful place. They need their signage. There's no reason to try to stop it at this point. I mean, that's not what's happening. Land shark's been approved, and their signage kind of goes along with it, and it would be rude to a business like that to say, oh, well, you can build your building, but we're not going to let you put up your signs. But I think that the neighborhoods, the neighborhood closest by should have some say in what's going up there. So I'm a little, I'm kind of sad that there was no time to have people here that could actually
Was there any
look at that.
discussion about Mr. Berg, was there any open for the public as far as the signage or anything at all?
No, there was no neighborhood meeting.
Nothing. Okay. I just wanted to.
So I'm weighing in on that, doing my due diligence for people that I represent, that we'd like some more time to look at things that have that big of an impact, if possible. The signage amount is 10 times what's currently allowed. I don't know if any of you realize that. That's a huge
I
amount.
think it's more than 10 times.
More
Yes,
than
yes,
10
yes,
times.
it is.
And
Yes,
it's
it
kind
is.
of all going to be focused on that one thing. So it's definitely going to be an attraction,
I think it's fine. I think what Rob was saying is, it's starring as a lot of signage for that building, but I think they're planning to, either go
Okay.
up. You see what I'm saying? Is
Yeah.
that the signage is there for that building, but it is.
It's a comprehensive sign plan,
Yes.
so that they have a list that they can go to when they're putting up signs. They don't have to get a permit for each one. That's why I'm okay with approving it. I understand that that's the way it goes. So each one is going to go through its own process. The 601 Main Street, the Bad Boys, have you talked with Archie and Michelle Dodani about a possible, they're interested in doing something with that property? I know they're over there at the county meeting hoping to talk about it right now, and they weren't able to come to both meetings. So I don't know if any drawings been done or anything been submitted? Or
No,
nothing?
I'm not aware of any current plans. I've communicated with them probably about 3 months ago.
Okay.
And that's it.
And then the fact that the county Beachside Redevelopment Board meeting was tonight. I know this was rescheduled because of the hurricane, but it's an awkward rescheduling. I don't know how we picked tonight. We couldn't find another slot that we could have fit into. It would have been nice for some of us. Some of us would have liked to have been at both of these meetings. And do you follow what's going on at the county Beachside Redevelopment Board meetings, Mr. Berger?
I do. I get the agendas. Yes.
But do you get the minutes, or do you? I mean,
I go read the minutes. Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know if you had any like input on how you feel like that's going. I mean, are you? No.
No, I don't have any comment on that.
Okay, and then as I read the minutes for those last two meetings, you mentioned something about doing a mailing to the residents about grant funding. Has anything been done about that? It was going to go in the power bills or the water bills?
Yeah, I know that was handed over to our public relations person, public information officer.
Okay.
So they have that information.
And then you also mentioned the temporary lot by the boardwalk was going to be renovated. Are those renovations complete? That landscaping there, the parking lot by the boardwalk, and we've seen some landscaping go up and a little fence, and it's kind of dressed up a little bit. Is that it, or is it going to go? You had mentioned that it would be this year. It has to be. You've given them 2 or 3 extensions, and it has to be paved or something.
Right. There currently is a request for a text amendment to consider an additional extension of the time period.
Okay. All right, and then the last thing was, of course, I've got to ask about the big lot on Grandview, because in April you said people were working on something, and then in June you said you didn't know of anything. So I'm wondering now that it's September or whatever it is, have we made any more progress on what's going to happen on the big lot on Grandview between Kemp and Fifth?
I have had no discussions about that property.
So we don't know any.
No.
Nothing further?
Nothing further that I've been involved in.
Okay. That's what my
Okay.
folks would like to know about. That's it. Thank you.
Questions?
Just some comments. Sure. I'm overall supportive of the longboard. I think it'll help people feel safe. They'll feel like they have a safe place to come and be entertained. I'm not big on corporate stuff, but I still supported them. But as far as signs, I do want to point out that even big corporate places like McDonald's, for example, when it wanted to build a McDonald's in Rome by the Spanish Steps, it had to be like so toned down. So just because a corporate tenant or owner comes in doesn't mean that there's not maybe some wiggle room with their signage. So if it ever should become a problem on our beach side, I mean, I do think that the beach is sacred. I grew up going to a beach where there was barely any light at night, let alone big signs and stuff. So I don't know, I'm just real sensitive about that our beach not get too much light pollution. And let's see what else. I love how the parking lot looks with the landscaping, the one that you mentioned. That's very beautiful. I started to notice the nice dune grasses coming up. I think I'm seeing more of that, and I think it's beautiful, and it's also practical. It's a good solution, and and it's in keeping with our Beachside. And I could ramble on and on, but it's been a long night, so I'll leave someone else. Thank you all.
I was kind of surprised that Robert Ellis said he got the permitting and all that for in Ormond Beach in 2 weeks and at 20th of the cost. I think we've kind of discovered maybe Daytona Beach isn't all that business friendly, and maybe the council and staff need to kind of take a look at it. But 20 weeks, by the time November rolls around, it's going to take 20 weeks to get that tattoo parlor finally going, and 20 times the money. I mean, that, I don't know, that kind of stuck in my craw.
I just want to mention something to you. It's not Ormond, it's Ormond by the Sea.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
But that's why I asked him, it was Ormond or Ormond by the Sea. Ormond by the Sea is,
It's unincorporated county.
There you go. Thank you.
In Ormond by the Sea.
Thank you very much.
So they didn't go through Ormond Beach's process. They went through the county where it's permitted.
Just to let you, because Ormond is, I live in Ormond. I tell you, Ormond is even tougher to deal with than Daytona is.
Well, it's going to be something I keep up with. Is kind of always ask how long did the process take and that kind of thing.
Well, for that kind of business, there's certain process that has to go and have certain you see, that's the whole thing about it.
I understand.
And if they had applied for a permit in a BA district, there's been one tattoo parlor that has done that, and they got their permit.
Yeah.
It's just by rights.
Exactly.
But if you're going to go outside of where you have that as a permitted use, you got to go through the process. That's
why does this red light come on every now and then? This one.
Okay.
Does it mean?
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. The red light is saying your microphone is not on. There's a little button there.
Right there. Now it's off. Now
I think we might have missed that in our orientation discussion, but for everyone, that's located for your purpose. And
he turns the red light on.
Yes.
Okay.
So they're just letting us know.
I had a question. I think in looking back over the minutes for the last couple of months, I think somebody had mentioned in a meeting question about why some businesses have been turned away from Main Street, and one of them was the brewery that eventually went to Holly Hill. And you said you were going to maybe check with them because you weren't familiar with why they didn't come into Main Street. I'm just wondering if there has been any discussion with people that have maybe initiated interest in Main Street and then felt like the city wasn't being supportive or friendly, and what those issues, what are the roadblocks there?
I've had no feedback like that would suggest that we're unfriendly or not working with somebody who wants to come in. That's just not the way we work. And I think that somebody wanted to do something that wasn't permitted, and we were just explaining that information, and that was the end of the conversation. But we have not had any discussion with, for example, a brewery or a brew pub or someone like that on Main Street. To my knowledge, there's not been any.
I don't think it was on Main Street. It was Daytona. It was somewhere in Daytona. They wanted to.
Yeah, and I understand that there's multiple stories that go with those issues. I mean, people get into things and then realize financially, or like you said, because of codes and things, that it's not feasible. But if it does come up where we're seeing people that maybe are expressing interest and they do feel that there's some kind of a roadblock, or kind of want to be familiar with what the more familiar with what the challenges are, like the time constraints or the additional money, things like that.
Dino? No comment. Okay, we have a pleasure to have Mr. Morrison, and he wants to say a couple of words. Please, Mr. Morrison. Thank you, sir.
Morris.
Good evening, everybody. I've just come from the Beachside Redevelopment meeting. I had a great time. I wondered where you were, but now
I'm stuck. I was killing me.
I'm the deputy city manager. I work in land use matters and so on. And Ms. Huggle, in particular, I wanted to speak to your question about the brewery. The manager has brought it to my attention that there may have been some roadblocks in our rules and regulations that would not encourage something like that. And it's our intention to address those rules and regulations, among other things. It's a broad palette of things that we want to work on, but that's one in particular that the manager has focused on. And so we'll be looking at how those things may be better accommodated. I know there's some other issues in the terms of the particular one you mentioned as far as the building space they want and some other things that happened. But put that all aside, we understand also that we need to see what else we can do to try and make things more accommodating. And I've been charged with that mission. As it relates to the tattoo store tonight, those folks went through a standard rezoning, as you know, but at the last workshop the City Commission had, the lady from the pair of people that wanted that was there, and I think you may have been at the meeting, Amy, and she spoke at that workshop, and I asked her to stay behind and talk to me because I hadn't had direct input or impact on that at all. And I gathered all the staff people that were responsive to the issue and put all those folks together, and we accelerated the schedule. And what I said to her that day was that if you can stay with the schedule, and we've compressed some of it, and let Rob's office do the overlapping advertising, it should get passed on the Wednesday of Biketoberfest, the hearing, the rezoning second reading. The mayor will sign the ordinance that night, and those people will be able to open their doors on Thursday morning. And to that end, what I asked them to do was to go ahead and get their business licensed and their occupational stuff done, and I talked to the building official about that, because they can open the store. They just can't have application of tattoos until the rezoning passes. So that Thursday morning, they'll have everything done ahead of time where they can open their doors the day before. They can actually go to work doing their business on Thursday morning. And that's the way that we intend for it to work out, and I think Reed will tell you, I've been more than insistent about that. And it's my intention to pursue other things in that same vein and to do what can be done to cut the clock. In terms of the cost, Mr. Dennis, there's no place you go where you have lawyers involved in land use plans and rezoning that it doesn't cost like hell. That's all there is to it. If you've got a permitted use, as Mr. Newman said, it's easy enough. You make application, you turn in your site plan, you get a permit, and you go. And that's a distinctive difference when you got a permitted use. And tattoos in Daytona Beach, the application of them at least, have not permitted until the recent litigation said you've got to permit that to occur. I happen not to have any tattoos, probably I never will, but I'm not against someone getting them. And I think that so much of the business that we do in a town, if it's legal to do it, then you concern yourself with the aesthetics and the behavior of the people in the business, and if they want to have a tattoo, let them have a tattoo. They want to buy earrings, whatever the case might be. My point is, we're not here to regulate morality. We're here to regulate in terms of the perspective of letting everybody get along and do their business and let everyone else prosper as well. That's the object of it. And it's been said that, I've got the freedom to swing my fist around in the air, and I do. I look stupid doing it. My freedom to do that ends when my fist finds your nose. To that end, as much as we can permit things to occur that promote the community and make it a better place and a more lively place, that's what we're going to do. Now, tomorrow morning you may see some comments that I made to the chairman of the Redevelopment Board tonight where he said, well, you say anything is good. That isn't what I said, and I think he took the opportunity to take that, and I took him to task over that. He didn't appreciate it that much. I said that we have an evolutionary circumstance on Main Street. You had a devolution of Main Street for a long time, but it certainly has structure that can be utilized, particularly the south side, and be revamped. And for instance, I spoke to the Redevelopment Board about the need for grants to improve the facades of existing buildings on Main Street. And I picked the south side, Amy, versus the north side because you got so much public ownership on the north side. Mm-hmm. And that's the distinction that I draw, not that one side's better than the other. There's just more opportunity for different scale of things on the north side. So anyhow, you brought that up in the comment about the zoning, and I want you to know from a proactive, positive stance to try and get things done, it's part of what I've been charged to do, and we're going to do our best to do it. So.
Well, yes, go ahead, Mr. Ruger.
Yes, sir.
Would you mind saying a little bit about food truck wars?
Oh,
Food truck wars.
Oh, Mr. Berger, you just opened the can.
Food truck wars are scheduled to occur, and we invited the Main Street merchants to participate. Street closing is going to happen, and some Main Street merchants may, others may not, and it's a circumstance where
The object that we have in any of this stuff, the food truck war itself is really kind of an experimental thing to see how we should regulate food trucks. But in perspective of the future of food trucks and other things that happen with businesses in Daytona, if it doesn't promote the existing business in Daytona, then it isn't something that we really want to do. So the incentive is to be conjunctive and be forward-looking, and hopefully for both sides to have open minds in terms of things that might work and they might not. And, you know, I think as a community, I was born here, I've lived here in this county all my life. For a long, long time, there's been a voice that had fixed income, made their money already, doesn't matter if you make a living here or not, kind of attitude. And that kind of attitude does not lead to a progressive community. So from a progressive, interesting place to live, I think we've got to be more open-minded than that. So there may be things we try and say, you know what, we tried it, but it doesn't really work. We may other things that we try and say, damn, that's a good idea. And there's some things, you know, you just see things that happen, like those stupid spinner toys those kids have. Who would ever think?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes no sense to me, but there they are.
Yeah.
And so those kinds of ideas. And we've got certainly resident population that's been here forever, both residentially and commercially. And to try and make that the whole area better, my view of Daytona Beach is that it was probably at its apex somewhere in the mid-'70s to late 70s, maybe early 80s. Airline deregulation, Disney World, those things I think led to and also the aging out of the initial population of hoteliers that came probably from the 60s. Those three things, along with the departure of GE and no fixed stable economic base, I think had a huge impact on what we've got. But lo and behold, Brown & Brown's going to build something more important than G&E ever thought about.
Exactly.
And there's other things that will follow that downtown. And with that, you know, I've contended as it relates to the homeless people and the effect they have on you, whether they commit a crime or not. And they're smart enough mainly not to commit crimes. You'll see there really aren't that many arrests because they know where the line is.
Yeah.
But I look at it like saltwater intrusion. And for those of you that don't know, saltwater is much heavier than fresh water. So for fresh water to control salt water, it takes about 7 or 8 parts of fresh to control 1 part of salt. I think the same thing pertains to the people you want to be with versus the people you'd rather not be with. You need an overwhelming number of the folks you want to be around, folks that are similar to you, that have interest in the community. And the homeless thing, I think eventually begins to wean itself out simply by the weight of population of people that won't tolerate the behavior that they have in terms of haranguing you for money and those sorts of things. But if it's only a few of us and a few of them, guess what? It's going to be a losing proposition. That's why I think the Brown & Brown idea is so important, because it creates lots of energy for downtown, and also from the standpoint of the Bike Week and Biketoberfest stuff. I think that you'll see that Bike Week and Biketoberfest are no longer in the park on the river, or that will happen pretty shortly. So, I mean, there's lots of exciting things occurring here, and to me more so than anything, probably since condominiums came, which I date myself again, was probably in the mid to late 70s, and there began to be construction for that. And I worked construction to get through college. So for me, it was a big deal to be able to get a job and make a little bit of money to go back and go to school. We've got new construction coming in all sorts of different ways, and hopefully new economic avenues for people that are from here.
Absolutely.
So thank you all for that.
May I ask you a question? May I?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Well, any
About-
conversation would be complete without it.
About the food trucks. You
Yes,
said
ma'am.
that merchants may or may not participate. Does that
It's
did
their
the,
option.
Does a merchant pay a fee to participate
Nope.
that day? No.
Nope.
And right now the way the food truck war is set up, we're using Daytona's liquor license,
The Peabody liquor license, that's right.
the Peabody's liquor license.
Mm-hmm.
So will there be carts, like bar carts?
There's going to be 2
out?
places where liquor can be sold on the street, and it's what will happen. And I learned this lesson from Vinny Carvagno. And if y'all don't remember him, you should.
You should.
So Vinny Carvagno had a gas station. It's Main Street Station, and he got in trouble with the beverage department, because he let somebody drink out on the apron of his property. What he discovered was you can define your premises any way you want to. And if you look, it's probably still there. There's a line that goes around the outside edge of his property. That was his definition of premises. The beverage department, and there's a point to the story, the beverage department will permit a temporary redefinition of the Peabody premises so long as it's connected by contiguous streets to allow us to have the sales on the street under the city's license.
Wow.
And we've worked that out with the beverage department. But the bars will still be able to be open and do what they do.
Right, and that was my question, was about the fact that there are bars on Main Street that may feel like that if the city is selling alcohol, it detracts from their business. Have you heard this?
Sure.
Yeah.
We went over and met with the Main Street merchants, Helen Rieger and I did.
Mm-hmm.
And, it started out as kind of a hot meeting in the negative, but it improved. Not everybody was happy. There's a lady named Phaedra that owns Main Street Station who was just unhappy. But I'm not sure that anything would have changed that circumstance. And she had someone with her. Those two folks were unhappy. The other folks seemed interested in participation, and I made it clear to them that our effort is to be complementary to business, not to impinge upon business. Now, can someone make a clumsy mistake? Can I make one? Absolutely, I can. Would that be on purpose and not something that would be corrected? No. If I'm aware of it and we can correct it, we'll correct it. I think the Main Street merchants were happy with the approach. And you got to remember, too, the food truck war has limited hours. And the Main Street folks asked if we could extend the street closing, and I said yes, but I think ultimately they elected not to do that. But we were open to that option. And you're going to see those kinds of things going forward in terms of our willingness to work with them.
I can tell you something, Mr. Morrison. Beside the Main Street Station,
Yes, sir.
all the other bars are on board.
Yeah.
I can tell you that for a fact. One more thing I want to say. It's been 25 years I've been waiting for something like this. You finally came up and said it. It's about time. We needed somebody like you to come to work for the city, to get in, to be able to open these doors. This is what I've been praying for 25 years.
Well,
you and I, we know each other for a very long time. We went through hell with this city. Now I think we're going through heaven with this city.
Well, let's hope. I'm going to point, and I'll see if I can get somebody to follow.
Okay. I think we understand, but I want to thank you very much for what you said now, because this is going to be music to a lot of people's ears. Because
Let me say this, though, because it would be incorrect for me to assume all the credit, because Jim Chisholm is the person that gave me the job. I asked him for the job, and I operate exclusively under his direction, which he gives me a fair amount of free play. But Jim Chisholm is the boss, Jim Chisholm is the policy setter, and Jim Chisholm runs the show. He's agreeable with what I'm talking about. And that's what everyone needs to know, that Jim Chisholm hasn't changed. He's the same as he's been.
Then you make
But
sure you give him tip and hat to him, because let me tell you what, you can go from door to door. Any business that's been here for 20, 25 years, and I'm sure will agree with me, Dino will agree with me. We went through hell. We're going through to go heaven. But let me tell you what, we all believe in Daytona. We all believe in Daytona. I just needed for that wall, bring that wall down. And you know what I'm talking about the other commissioners, about all the stuff that we went through. But now it seems like we're going the right direction.
And you have a progressive city commission, too. You have a commission that's listening and trying and wants to make things better. Finding the path to what's better is not an easy thing, and you got lots of input as to what's better. And it's almost always going to be a blend, and I always understood as a lawyer that maybe the sign of a good deal is when nobody's happy. That's not really what I want, but sometimes that reflects a balanced outcome. And Dina will tell you, I get along with the Pascalakis people pretty well.
For a long time.
Yeah. So anyway.
But I just wanted to say for the record that it's.
Thank you very much.
Time,
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And look forward to working with all of you.
One question. I'm very excited about everything, and thank you for coming and speak to us.
Yes, ma'am.
But when I heard a reference to alcohol sales, I guess I assumed that it would just be like there's food trucks, there would be some private vendor of alcohol, but it sounds like the city is going to be selling alcohol?
The city will be selling the alcohol. We're also not charging, with city sponsoring the event, so that vendors are not paying fees other than what they pay to their promoter, but the promoter is not paying the fees to the city. So the offset of that is, hopefully, liquor sales, which may balance that.
Yeah.
So it's a balanced activity in terms of trying to get something done. And in the future, the doors may open again for it if people think it's acceptable and popular and do it another way.
All right. Thank you.
Trust me. Anything that the city
will
do.
It's exciting. It's good.
Exciting.
It's really, this is very exciting.
Yeah. And, we want, Reed and I have gone back and forth some in terms of the plans and so on that exist. And we don't honestly agree with each other on everything. That's okay. Reed's got a good heart, a good attitude, and he wants to get things done. So do I. And, you can't necessarily get there just because, hey, you're great, I'm great, let's go this way. won't necessarily get that way, but input from everybody, and just we're ready to get things going.
Mr. Morrison, again, thank you very much. I hope I speak for all the board members for you coming and,
thank you.
Thank you very, very much. I personally, I'm going to speak for myself personally. It's about time.
Well, thanks.
Anything else from anybody? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.